Whoa. Calm down. Shh.
Yeah, we'll get to you.
We'll get to you. In 3, 2, -1.
Welcome to Shallow Cinema. I am Nemo, and I'm here with the Blackjack Bauer.
The one and only.
How's it going, man?
It's going good. I'm doing a spoiler alert for the episode, but I don't feel like bitching today.
Yeah.
This is it was good. I'm in a good mood.
Monster fans eating good right now, huh?
The multiverse of Monster Madness is upon us, and obviously, you clicked on this, so you know the title and what we're going to talk about. But you're, a big fan of Godzilla.
I've been in a very jovial mood.
So I think, love or hate some of the stuff that's coming out. Isn't it kind of amazing that there's 2-3 different iterations at the same time? And
it really is. If I had to compare it to anything, it's kind of like you're getting your actual cinema and you're also getting your trashy WWE at the same time. So you have the best of both worlds. It's all entertaining.
Yeah, and I don't know if you share the sentiment, but there was a lot of people on both sides of the ocean that are saying this is the best Godzilla movie.
I've been seeing a lot of that too.
Takes a lot of homage and references to, a lot of his classics. But so you're getting this, I'm going to say heartfelt, but very thought out experience. And you're also getting do you just want big dumb fun? Cool. You got that over here for you too.
Which is all you can ask for, really. When it comes to this stuff like this, I feel like a lot of people, especially if you had something that has 2 iterations that are completely separate, it's really rare to be entertaining through both of them. So you get Star Wars or Marvel. People are going to love some of it. People are going to hate all of it.
And I will touch on this when we get into some other stuff we're going to talk about with the Monsterverse, or just
versus
the universe of Godzilla, I guess, at this point. But this is a big moment. Obviously, this is it's 75th anniversary.
Yeah, it's a 70th.
70th, my bad. He's not that old. Sorry, Gojira. But this is also a moment where they could do where Marvel is failing now.
I think that's kind of what they're going for.
I can't imagine. I imagine Monarch launching when it did was also and you probably know this, or trivia for -1. This is the fastest that a Godzilla movie has come to the U.S.
Yes.
Shin Godzilla was the fastest beforehand, which was still 3 months.
I honestly think we can thank stuff like Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia.
It topped Demon Slayer.
One Piece.
For its box office as well.
Which it was huge.
And it's also in a wide release, which even Shin Godzilla only had a limited
I was not
release.
Able to see it in a theater.
And then a lot of Godzilla movies, when they do come over here, just go straight to video or go limited engagement.
Yeah.
So this is, a big deal. Honestly, when we walked in, I was kind of is this going to be dubbed? It didn't matter to me, but I kind of thought I don't know, fucking maybe.
I'm glad it wasn't.
And obviously it was their intention from the get-go that they knew, we're sending this to America, which I also think is why it looks so good, which we'll also touch on this looks real good. And when you find out how much it fucking costs, it's going to make you question a lot of stuff about what we've been watching over here.
There's definitely some major things this movie, especially implications of just the American audience in general. It's pretty interesting.
I don't remember exactly where this quote came from, but it's something I was watching recently about just the budgets of movies and how some can be done pretty well, 65 or under 100, and then you have other ones that are 200 or 300. They're asking some executive about it, and his answer was just well, it's pretty hard to steal $10 million when it's only a $60 million budget.
Yep.
If it's $300 million, nobody really notices.
Yep.
I don't think he meant straight up steal it, but it was just
still, though.
We're gonna shift this over here. Kind of like how Adam Sandler's movies are basically just him and his buddies on vacation.
Exactly. And speaking of, let's talk about our hit movie today, Liz on Netflix.
What?
It's the Lizard Adam Sandler movie that came out, and there is a pretty funny Godzilla joke in it.
I think I saw an Instagram trailer, and I was just why do I recognize his voice? And it's Adam Sandler's scroll.
He's I'm a lizard. I'm an old lizard.
Although the trailer is this is a heartwarming film. This is great.
It was cute. I watched it.
It's part of his Netflix deal. I thought
probably
it was Hotel Transylvania going to theaters.
Nah, it was all straight to Netflix, and it was very short. It was a musical.
Huh. Like 8 Crazy Nights?
Actually, that was very comparable.
Oh, were there seizures?
Yes, actually. Yes, there were.
Did Did we ever release that commentary?
Yes, we did.
Oh, okay.
Just not.
Thank God, because if I had sat through that, we didn't release it.
No, let's. For real though.
We do have a trailer.
Yeah, and a surprise trailer. I did not expect this one at all.
This episode really came together.
Yeah, it was really nice for us. Thank you.
Obviously, I think that trailer's release clearly was timed with
Absolutely.
everyone's liking this.
And I think it was rushed a little bit, and we'll talk about that too. But so Godzilla X Kong.
New Empire.
The New Empire. Already, just naming it Godzilla X Kong, why would you name it that? That's how every fan fiction is named on the internet.
Oh, because like X is... Sorry, Elon, you didn't trademark it. X is kind of just like that new... Not new. Honestly, I guess in Street Fighter X Tekken. Yeah. That's just been the like, cross. Like, oh, okay. Why don't you just say like plus? Or, X is cooler.
I guess it is, but it's like, well, you're going to get a lot of
these people can hate on this
fan fiction.
Now, instead of hating on like Batman v Superman for removing verses from stuff, it's like just say V.
Yeah, V is really dumb. But I cannot wait.
Godzilla versus Kong? It was versus, right? It was no Godzilla v Kong.
I think it was Kong versus Godzilla.
Oh, I mean,
yeah.
I guess it was really more his movie. But this also seems, again, to be Kong focused.
It's definitely Kong focused. I cannot wait for their kiss scene, though. But it's going to be really intense. Nuclear, even.
So, what did you think of the trailer?
You know what? Elephant in the room. That opening shot straight up looks like Transformers. The color scheme of the power glove that Kong has on looks like Bumblebee.
You and I texted afterwards.
Yep.
Your bubbles were working on my screen, and I'm pretty sure then simultaneously they were sent. We were like, my first thought, and I was like, I thought Transformers.
It looks just like the second Transformers movies because there's the pyramids.
It does. And I mean, it also looks like Bumblebee's hand.
Where's that U.S. soldier guy looking at Omnicron's balls or whatever?
Why not Kong X Transformers? I guess they're doing the Beast Wars. It lines up.
Yeah, go for it. With the trailer itself, though, it kind of had like a really interesting music choice. Like it seemed more epic than what it actually was. I
appreciate that it didn't have like a hip hop.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it worked for the Versus trailer, but I didn't like it.
I didn't like it much either.
But this had a weird vibe of like it seemed epic, and like our little deaf girl looks like now she's the princess or she's gonna be something down there.
Yeah, because she was the last of her people.
And she can talk to Kong, which presumably anyone who knows sign language can talk to Kong. But
you know what? I like that. That is the one thing from that movie I genuinely liked.
I don't hate it, but
so she was arguably the best actress in the movie. Her mom is back. She has short hair this time.
Yeah, and also podcast guy is back.
Unfortunately,
I like Brian Tyree Henry a lot. I think he's a great actor. I'm even questioning him, like, but why? Other than him as an actor and like charisma, but like, why would that character be involved? And I mean, I get it. You probably can't afford Millie Bobby Brown anymore. It doesn't look like Kyle Chandler is going to be in this.
Hopefully her stupid friend will not return because he was the worst part.
I want to say his name was Podcast, but that is the little chubby friend from the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie.
That's funny. So
but what was I say? It had a weird vibe of like this still looks cartoonish and silly.
Yes,
but the trailer was trying to be like epic.
It has these big sprawling landscape scenes. It's very Lord of the Rings-esque. Like you can see like it's like a big shot of like birds flying in the sky, the hollow earth, and you see like Kong running away from wolves down in the valley. And but we get to see a little baby Kong in this one, little orange monkey.
Yeah, that was definitely unfinished CGI.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't terrible. I had the same feeling with the Planet of the Apes trailers. Like, this doesn't look bad, but also like I don't believe it's a real fucking monkey. And with the Planet of the Apes, at least the previous three was like, if you told me that was a real monkey, I'd be like, okay, I guess.
Speaking of Planet of the Apes, there was a tagline in this trailer that's like, "Prepare for the rise," and it's like of the Planet of the Apes. Because then it shows a bunch of apes.
I joked about the Transformers thing, was like, I'm pretty sure there is a comic that is Kong.
It's his
versus Planet of the Apes, or Kong meets Planet of the Apes.
Oh, I was thinking of the Legacy Monsterverse comic of Kong. There's some stuff in this trailer that is from that comic.
I'm sure.
It's mostly those wolf creatures. But
what are your thoughts on purple, pink, glowy Godzilla? Is there a precedent for that?
Actually, yes. The shirt that I happen to be wearing.
Again, audio format. Nobody knows but me.
It's Godzilla 2000 or Godzilla Millennium. He has pink spikes on the back of his back.
And does he shoot different?
And he shoots purple beams.
It's a beam, or is it rings?
beams.
Beams. Okay.
Yeah. And so that, I feel like that's kind of a reference to that. But Godzilla is getting more irradiated. So whatever, he was like sleeping in a crystal that we saw in this. And he's his spikes are getting bigger. He has spikes in his arms now. So he's got a new body. Whatever Mothra did to him, it's keeping him changing.
But did he change that? You know,
In every movie he does change.
I mean, I know that, and that's somewhat, I think, largely because, like, well, we got to make a new one. Also, maybe toys and products and stuff.
Absolutely. New figure.
And, like, nerds will come up with reasons why he looks this way.
Yeah.
But I don't feel, did he change from King of the Monsters to Versus?
Yeah. He had
other than that he learned how to laugh?
Which he also kind of grins in this one, too.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, his spikes got bigger, and, like, his body, like, in between his scales were starting to glow blue, where they used to be. Like, it had, like, the same effect when he was burning in
That was the
King of the
coolest.
Monsters. Yeah.
King of the Monsters, that when he's actually just, like, nuked out. It's like, that's cool.
So it's kind of like that same thing. That's basically why he was able to just blast through the earth, is because he doesn't know his own power anymore. And he just keeps getting more and more irradiated.
What'd you think about the hero shot of Godzilla and Kong running presumably from doesn't matter if they're even running from an explosion. Just
well, Kong drops from the ceiling and Godzilla bursts out of the ground. So it's like they're attacking something together. And Kong is wearing his power glove at that time, so we can at least assume it's.
Why do you think that he needs that? Do you think something's wrong with his hand, or
who knows? Well, he doesn't have his axe in the scene, so maybe he loses his axe. So he needed something.
Couldn't Godzilla just give him?
Yeah, just break
pop
one
out
off.
one of his.
Yeah, break one off, dude.
I can grow it back.
Yeah. Maybe even bigger than last time.
Like I couldn't help but smile and laugh. I'm like, look, I mean, am I excited?
It's
sure, but
it's silly. But at this point, I'm like, fine, that's fine.
And I don't like that it looks like the bad guy's just a different big Kong.
He's an orangutan type,
and I assume it comes from some.
No, this is completely.
Oh
yeah, no idea. This is brand new. We know that he has a big giant bone whip that he uses, and his name is the Scar King. And
I guess when I saw the name, I was like, well, that must be something.
It's implied that he might be a cannibal, so he might be literally eating or have eaten all of Kong's people.
But I thought the skull crawlers are the ones that killed Kong.
Yeah, maybe there's a little retcon coming on. Maybe
there's some retcon going on in this universe.
Yeah, so maybe, who knows? Maybe he was the one that devastated them into running to the surface world. And
yeah, maybe.
So we see a shot of a bunch of monkeys. That's very likely, I'd say, a flashback. Maybe we'll see a child Kong, and we'll see a good reflection with this new baby Kong.
You think there's a baby Godzilla hiding in this movie? I
would be very surprised. But the art direction is constantly showing off a Godzilla skull and ape skulls. So hey, Godzilla's that spike on his back thing, it might have came from somewhere. We also
I assumed it came from Godzilla.
Maybe he was one of his kind,
because he's the king.
Yeah,
I mean the legendary movies haven't really indicated that there's another that Godzilla has.
I completely agree.
Family or a species. Is just like, no, that is its own fucking thing.
And
thusly, I'd say Kong is the only of the Titans. I don't know. Did the bamboo spider count as a Titan, or is it just like a monster?
Yeah, I think those are just monsters. Or they're called the Alphas. That's what it was. Because Ghidorah, Godzilla, Kong, they're all alphas.
So yeah, the alphas. Kong is the only one we've been shown. It's like there's more of them. He has families and stuff. And I don't remember the movie King of Monsters did it specify that Ghidorah was from space?
Yes, yeah, he is.
Because sometimes in the old ones, he's not from space, right?
I think almost all of them, he's from space.
No, I thought there was like one or two where it's like, he's just...
The one I told you about the other day about where he's a hero, I think he might be of Earth, and that one at Godzilla's technically the space alien.
Cool.
Yeah, they did a role reversal in that one.
And they're doing a role reversal here, seeing Godzilla in crystal, or I thought it was ice, but it's probably crystal.
Oh, I was like,
I actually first like, oh, Ghidorah's back.
It's crystal and ice. That it was a reference to the original Kong versus Godzilla, because he burst out of ice as his first appearance in that movie.
I hope they rebuild Mecha Godzilla, or just make Mecha Ghidorah, because that's the thing too, right?
I think I would like that more.
And Charles Dance never come back either, so
no, he didn't.
Yeah, we could do something.
It feels like this is them being like, "Hey, we'll continue this shit. You guys said you wanted more. We made the show. Now we're gonna make some more of this."
Well, the other interesting fact of this universe, one, I do think, if I remember correctly from the trailer, Warner Brothers logo was in front of it, but Legendary is no longer bound to Warner Brothers.
Yeah, so they're kind of like working
and
together.
Legendary is the one who, like, they have the rights to Godzilla, not Warner Brothers. That was the deal with Toho, was with Legendary, and which is why Monarch is on Apple, has nothing to do with Warner Brothers, but it is a Legendary production. King of the Monsters did well, but like didn't do as good as Skull Island or Godzilla.
Well, also it
2014.
did release right in the pandemic.
No, not Versus.
Oh, sorry.
King of the Monsters.
Sorry, yeah, King of the Monsters.
It did well, but not great.
Yeah.
I think the only reason we got Versus was they were already filming it. It was
already,
like, well, I guess it's too late to stop now. Versus, though, actually did do well and was really kind of the first, it was one of the first, especially for Warner Brothers. Like, we also premiered on HBO Max, but it came out in theaters and like it made money. So it's weird how this is almost like a Family Guy situation of like, this was almost canceled. And honestly, if we weren't already making this other one, we probably would have just fucking stopped. And maybe it got boosted by the pandemic of people just being like, I want to go to the movies. I want to see something. And
I mean, that's when I broke away and I actually went to the theater to see it because I've seen all of the Monsterverse movies in IMAX. I was like, I'm not going to stop.
So, I mean, I would have too.
I was alone in the theater, but still, which
I ended up watching on HBO Max and I was like, I'm glad because it was kind of dumb.
It was fun. It
was fun, but it was also like, this is dumb. Even in comparison to like, I didn't like Skull Island that much, although I do want to give it a rewatch and maybe I'm like, maybe it's better than I thought.
There's a lot of stuff in that movie I like, but there's a lot that's like,
there's a lot of hokiness in it.
This is like the James Gunn effect of where it changed the future of the movies.
But yeah, this one, I don't know. Like it reminds me a lot of Versus, which makes sense. I guess it should. My biggest gripe, honestly, is that like this seems like a King Kong movie again.
Yeah.
And look, I get giving the Versus movie kind of more to him since he'd only had one movie and Godzilla did get two. But now theoretically, like we're kind of equal. And maybe it's because Toho doesn't own King Kong. It's like, well, fuck it. I mean, if this deal ever goes whichever way, like we own this shit. So and maybe also, I assume they still have to ask Toho about things with Godzilla.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah.
And it's not like the 1998 movie where Toho told them, no, don't do this. And they're like, we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. With that though, I do think it looks fun. It's going to be a terrible movie, like no matter what. The story is going to be shit. The human characters will be shit, but at least it's going to be fun. I have no hope for it being a good movie.
I think that's the biggest fault of these. Because you know what? I'm someone who has had complained like, I just want to see monsters. I want to see monster fights. But that's not all I want, because if it was just that, then that would also get boring.
So I think that's where this shines. We have -1 now.
I do want a story. Not just like, oh, well, the fight. Although, to be fair, the opening of Versus, the credits, where it indicated like, oh, there's like a fucking tournament between all these Titans. Like,
yeah, I wanted to watch that.
That's the movie that I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Instead, you're like, nah, we're just doing credits. And maybe they'll go back and like, fuck it, you want to see that? All right.
I would really like to see that, please.
Shit, if you did that as an anime, I'd be like, this is still great. Cool. And I do want to see more of the monsters.
Yeah.
But the issue with these has been, well, the human characters you're showing me are mostly dumb, and I don't like them. In the few that you've had that are good, you either sideline, like Kyle Chandler's not great, but like his character, he's a good actor. His character doesn't have a whole lot, but like there's more there to do with him that you chose. Like, now we're going to follow his daughter on some stupid ass mission. Killed Bryan Cranston, which I think everyone, including involved in that production, is like, that was a mistake. We shouldn't have done.
Bad choice. Hey, you know what? I'm happy that one guy's gone though. The guy's like, oh my Godzilla. Fucking.
I like Bradley Whitford. Nah. Although there was a moment in Monarch where someone says, oh my God. And like, they don't say Zilla, but I did. Like, they said, oh my God. And I was like, Zilla.
God.
And I don't.
Zilla.
I think it was the scene where Godzilla shows up. So I was like, yeah.
Makes sense.
No, I mean, look, I didn't love that. I didn't love that character in that movie, but I like Bradley Whitford, and also like
the fucking script writers literally said they made that character to be like Rick from Rick and Morty. And it's like, fuck you. That's stupid.
In Serizawa, Ken Watanabe's character is also good, but he's also dead.
He's very dead.
Does get mentioned in Monarch. I'm kind of wondering, hoping like, is he going to show up?
I hope
he's alive during this.
And you know, old BC could show up too.
The issue really is like, you're not giving me human characters that I am invested in. Yep. So I am just like, just get to the monster thing. And like, I even with 2014 or 2016.
It's 2014.
2014. That's what I thought, because it is the time frame in Monarch. Like, I did have issues with that movie constantly cutting away from Godzilla, even though I get what the director is going for. And like, yes, it does make the ending fight more impactful. But it's also like, I came to this fucking Godzilla movie to see Godzilla and Bryan Cranston. Give me one of them.
And yeah, which we can touch on that a little bit later. But yeah, I think this movie is going to give us exactly what we wanted, which was, you want the monsters? Here's the fucking monsters.
How do you feel about speedy Godzilla? I guess he is faster than the legendaries anyway, but
it's so stupid. Like, genuinely, that's really stupid. Seeing Godzilla run like that as the giant he is.
I'm okay with it, except for this trailer and what look in this movie. Because I thought about it, I was like, I guess in the Legendary, especially compared to Minus One, like he is faster. I mean, in 2014,
he gets boosted basically.
He does take his time and stuff, but like he moves a little bit quicker than Minus One.
The fastest that he moves in that movie is when he does his tail whip that you kind of don't really see coming.
And I do feel like the Legendary one has bulkier arms,
dude,
and maybe thinner thighs.
In this one, he is getting jacked. His arms are huge. He's gonna start punching in this fucking movie. I guarantee it.
And I don't really want that, but I don't like the. I mean, they're never T-Rex arms, but I don't like the. That's
my main complaint
kind of arms
Shin Godzilla. I hated that.
Godzilla. Now, eventually in Shin Godzilla, by his final form that we get to see, like his arms are more out there, but they are still like it's not really what you're going to use to attack anything with, though, is it? And even Minus One, his arm, he does have arms, but he also keeps them they're the
close
classic to him until he's like, I'm going to fuck some shit up, and then he's like, here are my arms, which I liked. I kind of feel like if we could take Minus One and Legendary and just like shove them together.
Yeah.
That would be like, that's perfect Godzilla.
It's interesting when you get like the figures and stuff to see how they position the arms because his arms are such a weird thing. I do have a 2014 Godzilla NECA figure and you can't really pose his arms at all. They just kind of stick out like here to look somewhat normal because once you start bending them around, it's like this just looks like he's broken.
I don't know where it came from because as we discussed, we went to a collectible shop after the movie. I did have a Godzilla toy growing up. Don't know who gave it to me. Don't know what it's from. It would have been the classic Godzilla.
Yeah.
To where, I mean, literally, like his arm moved, no elbow movement, no knee movement, and the tail, for whatever reason, could turn. It did not like how a tail would move. It's just like turn his tail if you want to.
Yeah,
and that was it. And that was Godzilla to me. Like I loved Godzilla, and he did like the arms were kind of like he could fight with his arms if he wanted to. I guess that's what
He's just not going to be throwing punches.
This one could have, or at the very least, could have pinned something down. Could have opened someone's mouth and breathed atomic fire to his mouth.
Yeah, which
again, maybe is the coolest Godzilla kill.
Yeah.
Still.
With that, the design changes with the Legendary one. His legs and his feet particularly are smaller.
And for me, I do kind of like I'm not a big fan of the thunder thighs of Godzilla.
Which is really funny because Japan said that the American 2014 Godzilla was really fat. And it's like, bro, all of the Japanese Gojiras have thunder thighs. They're huge.
There's some of them where, and I think even one of the forms of Shin Godzilla is like, I don't like this.
It's massive.
I almost like it better when you're just a fucking crawling gross amoeba thing.
Yeah.
Because now you're just like this fat fucking blob.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, you're standing up, but like, and I don't like the 98 Zilla at all. I think I probably did when I was a kid and I saw that movie.
It's a different thing. That's why I'm like.
But it's like, and now like you've got the Taco Bell holder sitting on the desk here. Yeah, I don't like the square of the head. Like they really just made him a dinosaur.
That's what I like that. Well, he's an iguana and he looks like a big iguana.
It's true. That is what he is in them.
And but just with design and stuff, I think what they're doing with, especially like changing up his scale colors, that's fun. But as far as like the speediness, I really liked in Godzilla vs. Kong where they're like just fighting in China and they're just like sprawled out and like rolling, and Godzilla's just straight up like crawling after him, like he's not even trying to get up on his feet, he's just like running at him. I thought that was really cool. So it's like that's why I liked him running when he's like on all fours, because it's neat. Seeing him running on two legs jogging is like, that's weird.
I like that from Versus. Like that's as fast and as mobile as I want him to be. Because I was trying to think of like, we'll get into the review of Minus One here shortly. Trying to think of like Minus One fighting the, do they call it Mechagodzilla in Versus? Or is it?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
Because they're like, it was the stupid kid. He's like, that's Mechagodzilla.
And I was like, could he? I don't even mean like, oh, theoretically, could he fight? I was like, movie wise, could you really film that fight or just be like, no, Godzilla's just going to fucking stand there and I guess take it?
Yeah, basically.
And well, as we will discuss what he does in Minus One, like, or just fucking obliterate him.
Yeah, that's likely the answer. But as far as like them actually going that fast, it seems like they're in the Hollow Earth. Maybe they're going to do a thing where like,
when he's in the Hollow Earth,
gravity is weird.
Because the gravity is weirder there, and we did not see Godzilla in Hollow Earth
at all.
We saw him blow a hole through it, which is also weird because it's a big deal for the humans to get down there, and Godzilla's like, nah. It just turns out in Japan, I can just fucking blow a hole down there.
Oh, it's China.
Sorry.
Because it's a fucking joke, because everyone's like, oh, dig a hole to China. It's like, fuck off.
So yeah, that's the trailer. But
yeah. Yeah, I had to talk about that one because that's big. That's huge. Titan size.
Okay, so as a Godzilla fan, Godzilla,
Yes.
obviously the history of it, which again is paid different ways, homage in Minus One. He is a metaphor for nuclear destruction.
Yeah. The folly of man.
And then kind of becomes an anti-hero where he's fighting off other monsters. And sometimes he's just a force of nature or just an animal. Like Shin Godzilla, I would say that's just an animal that does not know what the fuck is going on. Not only does not know what's going on with you all, it doesn't fucking know what's going on with itself until, I assume by the time he's Godzilla.
Yeah, until it's almost too late.
So I've also read, like, for the majority of that movie, like, it's in pain. It's in pain the entire time as its body's transforming. Until he becomes Godzilla and he's like, now I got it. What version do you like of Godzilla? Do you like the hero? Do you like the anti-hero? Do you like the villain? Spoiler alert, Minus One, he is straight up a fucking asshole. And I do believe he knows what he's doing.
You know, history shows again and again how nature points out the folly of man, but Godzilla, I like him as a force of nature. The first 2014 Godzilla, I think, is kind of the perfect version where he is, I'd say, morally gray. All he cares about is keeping nature balanced. And when
he's not here to save us.
Yeah.
He's just here to
save the world. Things. That's actually a thing in King of the Monsters I thought was really well said if it was just delivered better. But like, oh, humans are the virus and, you know, the Titans are the ones that are killing it. They're the antibodies. I like that idea, but specifically with the 2014 one where he just doesn't care. Like,
he's here because he detected this and they shouldn't be
because
here.
Those things will destroy the world if they like populated like crazy. And also he's hungry and he eats radiation.
I also do prefer the force of nature, which I guess the legendary movies are kind of keeping with Oregon. Like Godzilla really doesn't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
Which is also weird at the end of 2014 where they're like, our savior. And it's like, he definitely killed a bunch of you. Like, he stepped on a lot. Although apparently there was a lot of instruction to visual effects artists in that movie of like, try your best to make it look like he's not stepping on people.
Yeah.
Like, just like, why? Like, he's giant.
Yeah. That's because like even with the American Zilla, he's just an animal. He has no Well, it's androgynous because he changes his sex. Yeah. But like just all that one wanted was I want to build a nest and I'm
for some reason I've chosen this concrete jungle.
Yeah. Because it's fun.
And I'm able to hide in it for some reason.
And like I like that. I like the original Gojira where he's just like, y'all created me, here I am. So he's not technically evil in that one. He's just there.
I know we have Oxen destroyed the legendary one, but we did not create him. It's the story in the legendary was like, he's been here.
Yeah.
He has maybe been altered somewhat by just soaking up radiation from us.
Yeah.
Or the fact that we're just nuking shit now and it's like, it's a lot of radiation.
Yeah, he's
yum.
been there since the beginning of time.
Eat it up, no crumbs.
Yeah, literally. There's some other Godzilla movies where he's like kind of like just a force of nature, but the ones that he's straight up the villain is kind of rare. There's not a lot where he is only a villain.
I think Minus One read this is only one of 5 of the total movies where he also does not fight any other monsters. It's just him.
Yep.
I'm assuming the ones where he doesn't fight other monsters are the ones where it's like, well, he's the villain.
Well, one was the first 80s one, which he was just, pretty much just the villain. And the only other creature in that one were skin mites. They're like giant, like isotopes that fell off of his body, and they were like killing people.
Little precursor to Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, that's definitely like something there. I liked that one. Which that entire those are 4 movies. I think they're kind of some of my favorite ones out of the entire series. Now
you are not a big fan of Shin Godzilla.
No.
The movie and or the representation of Godzilla?
Both, yeah. I'm not the biggest. It's also like you said, like in that one, he is also just a force of nature, but it's to the point that it's impossible, where it's like just hopeless. And I feel like that's not really what Godzilla should be.
I do want to rewatch it as well, but I also think that this is a character, a myth that's 70 years old. I think the point of Shin Godzilla was we're going to do something different.
Yeah.
You want to see something different with Godzilla. And yet Toho was afraid of some stuff. It's like, that's too far. Don't do that. When I was reading some of the deleted scenes, I was like, nah, you should have gone, just go all out with it. Although, to also be said, I don't want to see, in Shin Godzilla, he's basically just like it's like a biomass or whatever. It's like, I don't want to see him evolve past being Godzilla.
At that point, I'm going to stop caring.
It's fine if like his tail ends up dropping like little human Godzillas and like skin mites. That's cool, but like keep him as Godzilla once he gets to be that. Because I know the anime Netflix movies where he's like part of the Earth.
He's literally the planet. He turns into it.
And it does seem like that was kind of the narrative of Shin Godzilla's evolution is if we don't stop this like it will just consume everything.
That's why I like the inclusion of Mothra, is because Mothra becomes like the protector of Earth in the later ones, where Godzilla is like the force of nature, but she's like the one to keep him in check.
I do like that idea from Shin, and I even like that in that movie. Like once they freeze him, it's still like. And he's just in the middle of the fucking city, like frozen. It's all like, that shit's gonna like, they know it's like, it's gonna wear off eventually.
Yeah.
Like, granted, like we have time now, we can think about it as like, but it was like you said, it was hopeless of like, no, there ain't no stopping that. Whatever you do to it, it's just going to evolve and be like, okay.
See, I think that's also my other problem with the movie is the whole freezing Godzilla had already been done. The burning Godzilla we were talking about, that's the ending of Decidroya, is he is literally melting down. He's going to explode like the biggest nuclear bomb ever. So they freeze him. So even though they don't want to because he's saved them so many times, he gets frozen.
Well, I think that,
and they're also like, eventually he'll unfreeze.
Having told however many stories and for 70 years, like, not only are you going to repeat yourself, but you're probably just like paying homage to it. So we'll talk about with Minus One. There's stuff where you're like,
absolutely,
yeah, technically that also going to happen before. And fuck, this isn't a spoiler. Like towards the end, as they're making their plan of how to stop him, I called out before they unveiled something. It was like, oh, it's gonna be the oxygen destroyer.
Yeah, I was really.
And you were like, I agree. And it was like, nope, not even.
I'm very happy about that.
I was like, cool.
They framed it exactly how they framed the meeting in Godzilla versus. It's Godzilla 2. I forgot what they called it, but it was the one with Anguirus in it.
Apparently, this Minus One takes. And the director's like, yeah, I took numerous inspirations from Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, All Monsters.
Yeah, GVK, which is the one that I was telling you about, where that's the one with the absolute top dog evil Godzilla.
So let's go ahead and go into
just a little bit of news.
Let's go into Godzilla 0. We're not Minus One yet.
Really the only news that I have here is outside of, the Monsterverse trailers and posters releasing, which are pretty cool posters. The opening day for Godzilla was the third biggest opening globally.
Talking about Minus One?
Yes. And it's pretty impressive. It's just like, because also like releasing at the same time was Wish. And
what?
Yeah.
What's Wish?
That's the shitty Disney movie we talked about 3 times.
Nobody. I've seen so many people talk about it and be like, I didn't know that it came out.
Yep. Taking a look at this though, you have 2 massive studios. So Toho 70, Disney 100, and just look at the love given between these two.
I will say I looked up. So I guess technically the lead actress in this, and I didn't write her name down. And even if I did, I probably would have butchered it. I do have the character's name down. She stated, I guess, in a press conference, like this is the first Godzilla film in however many years. Kind of discounting, she's not shitting on or throwing shade at the legendaries or the animes. Yeah. It's just like, but this is actual Godzilla.
Yeah, Shin came out in 2016.
And that Toho had actually been trying to because it was, Shin Godzilla was even if you hate it, I think a lot of people see it as like, you kind of saved Godzilla. Like, down to they changed the statue in Japan of now it's Shin Godzilla.
Yep.
And they were trying to do a sequel, and they just couldn't. They didn't like any of the ideas. My guess is also Hideki Anno, who did Shin Godzilla, and also, if you don't know, that's who created Neon Genesis Evangelion. You can see elements of it in there. Maybe he didn't want to come back. I was also he was working on finally finishing the last rebuild film. And my guess is too, if he did come back, he's like, I'm going to take this a real weird fucking direction. But the guy who directed this also wrote it, and he was the one who came in with the pitch and is like, why don't we take it back to a period piece? And this is the only Godzilla movie that takes place directly after World War II, because even the original is well after.
There's only one movie that has a scene like that, and I'll get into that a little bit.
I did get the director's name down. Takashi Yamazaki. Got that. Nailed it. He's actually done 12 movies and some anime adaptations. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that Parasite had a live action adaptation, and Battleship Yamamoto, which is from the 80s. So I'm sure there was probably some hesitation from fans when it was announced that he was doing this, because it was because I think no matter what side of the ocean you're on, no one's done a great anime adaptation yet.
Yep.
But motherfucker nailed it with this.
And he's also a war veteran.
And I think that shows in this.
Yes.
And then, like I said, to some degree, he even stated like, I didn't even realize subconsciously how much stuff I was referencing or like how inspired I was from, what was the abbreviation?
GBK. Yep.
Yeah. Would go. Monsters kill each other.
Yeah.
That one. But that he loves the original Godzilla and he felt it should stay true to that spirit, addressing the issues of war and nuclear weapons. And I think a lot of the big prominent Godzilla movies do have that. Shin Godzilla is also about the triple disasters in Japan and the government's failure to deal with it, which a lot of people's arguments and problems with Shin Godzilla is it's a bunch of fucking meetings, but that was kind of the point of it, was like, this is how the government would for real handle this. They just have meetings about like, hey, there's a giant fucking monster in the middle of the city. Well, in this one, -1 is really dealing with not even the rebuilding of Japan, is Japan being decimated.
Yeah.
As a people, and being disarmed by the American government, which is mentioned, but you don't ever really see it in the movie. But it is mentioned, obviously.
Yeah.
And down to, again, like having to stop Godzilla, like there is no military presence. It is the people. And it's not even decrying the military. It's because the military's been taken apart.
I kept saying GVK and it's GMK. I'm saying Godzilla versus Kong. I just realized that. My bad.
But I want to point out, this movie is made for $15 million budget, and it looks great. There's a couple scenes where it's like, but even though the scenes with, it's not even wonky CGI, it's just like, were those tanks toys?
Yeah.
I feels almost intentional of like, we're going to throw back to this part, down to this Godzilla is fully CGI, but they made great efforts to make his posture and movement. I forgot what was it called? Suitimation.
Yeah, suitimation.
To match that, and that's why he's upright most of the time. He's not hunching over or anything like that. And until I read that fact, I actually thought that they had filmed some stuff with a suit and like overdone it.
That is the only thing that is disappointing. It's
that they didn't use a suit at all.
There should have been one. It kind of almost feels like it's not a Godzilla movie without the suit.
I don't know, man. Like I feel like
that was also their argument with the American Godzilla. That's why they had Shin Godzilla be a suit.
I feel like this captures that feeling though. Like
I don't know if I agree with that.
Even in the big attack in the city.
No, I mean I don't know if I agree that it's not a Godzilla movie if it doesn't have the suit. I guess the final thing before we get into all of this was so far the ratings on it are really high.
It had 100% up until recently.
It is like a 96 now.
And even the director came out and said, finally.
Yeah. And IMDb is hovering around 9 and 8.5.
And this, as of this recording, I looked it up. Worldwide, it's made $34 million, which may not sound like a lot, but for Japan, it's big.
It's just crazy that
it hasn't even opened everywhere.
How that,
Now, even on that $50 million budget, you may ask, how can they do this? People have come out and been like, well, Studio Ghibli is probably like the dream for most people to work in Japan. And they're like, in American dollars, you would be getting paid $400 to $800 a month working there. So these people, there's crunch involved.
Yes.
For sure. But there's also, I think with this like passion.
Yeah.
I do also believe like they knew this was going to go to Western audiences as well. So they're like, this can't look bad. Like,
which is a little weird. We'll talk about that too when we actually review it. But
knowing that they were going to worldwide release this,
there's just some actual history, like real world history. But I mean, just like I said, comparing this movie and the dedication and like even the director and stuff versus Wish, where all I know about that movie is it's a prequel to Snow White.
I think that's a prequel to everything Disney.
That too. And
but I do know I saw a quote from an anonymous animator who was like, we didn't want to work on this.
Did not want to make this movie. And it shows how terrible things have gotten in America, like media, like legacy media, I would say, because it's like,
as I think we've discussed before, it's a product, it's just content.
There's just no care, where this has lots of passion.
And obviously, because if they just wanted to throw out a Godzilla movie, apparently they had various other stories pitched to them of continuing Shin Godzilla, which I'll also argue like there's definitely some Shin Godzilla in this.
They've also been releasing for a few years now, since 2019, a bunch of these like mini films of like just different Godzillas and versions of Godzillas fighting other monsters.
Apparently this -1's form is from one of those, just slightly altered, and it was directed by the same fucking guy.
Yeah. So everyone kind of, like a bunch of people have gotten chances to make these mini films. The coolest one to me was Godzilla versus Gigan. It was like a new version of Gigan, which is one of my favorite of the monsters. He's the one that looks like a robot Cyclops with giant hook arms.
Mantis.
Yeah. And then they later on they changed them into twin chainsaws, which I thought was awesome.
Is that Mecha Gigan?
No, it's just a different version.
Oh, Are they organic chainsaws?
I don't know.
You're asking too many questions. Do you want to see a giant thing with chainsaws fight Godzilla?
I'm pretty sure it was like a Power Rangers villain they bought before Power Rangers used it. And everyone's like, yeah, that's fine.
I wonder how many monsters in Power Rangers were like, these are discarded Godzilla monsters.
There's a few. And there's even an Ultraman monster that's just Godzilla with a Dilophosaurus frill from Jurassic Park.
But and I don't want them to overdo this, and I don't want to see the Toho version crossover with Legendary.
And you know what? Thinking of that, I think you even said something too where you had kind of heard a rumor that Jet Jaguar could be in this movie.
Yeah, there's no way that Jet Jaguar could be. Like after seeing, it's like that doesn't make.
I found
sense.
out the reason why is because I guess one of those mini films was with Jet Jaguar, and at the release of the film of this one in Japan, they had like a Godzilla Day, and they brought the guy who was in the suit for the Jet Jaguar, and like they had him in his suit, and he's there like playing his theme song and like taking photos with people. So that's kind of where that just like a mistranslation came, where they're like, he's in the movie, but no, Jet Jaguar was at the movie.
Red circle, red arrow.
He literally was there watching the movie.
But yeah, I don't want to spoil this. We both went in knowing really only what we saw from the trailer we talked about in the last episode.
Well,
because to be honest, I thought this took place in modern day until we walked in and was like,
yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk just a little bit about Monarch. I want to talk too.
Oh, yeah. I forgot we're going to start with Monarch and then lead into -1.
Yeah.
Oh, just giving like -1 blue balls.
Yeah.
So Monarch, Legacy of Monsters.
So far, 4 episodes.
Apple TV Plus. Bummed about that. I'm going to say I'm enjoying it. More than I thought that I would.
I'm enjoying it too, but I will say...
This is what I wish the movies were like.
Yes. But it was a very poor choice on their part, because I even said in our last episode, I bet they'll play a Godzilla-centric episode on the day -1 comes out. But no, we got a filler episode. I think the 3rd episode should have been the same day.
Yeah, because it's the most good. And I did look, the 3rd episode, we basically get to see
Godzilla's origin.
The attack, or trying to kill Godzilla, which we kind of got in the opening credits of 2014.
Yeah, but this time we're just seeing it.
It was fun to kind of be like, oh, you're gonna like actually like show it. I kind of, and I look when as soon as I saw like the oxygen destroyer, I'm like, oh, we're gonna watch it.
Yeah,
and then Godzilla emerged and and then because we just see -1, I'm looking at him like, okay, is he that much different than -1? Because he's not. I don't think he's too much different from -1's general shape and appearance, but and you get some good character stuff with that too. And like I do believe there's some retconning happening with the history of this universe already, but I wanted them to stay on this beach and like wait for the cloud to dissipate and see if he's still fucking standing there. Yeah. Or for someone to be like, no, we didn't get him.
We're jumping ahead quite a bit.
This show is not about Godzilla.
No, which is good.
Hence why it's not titled Godzilla.
So I mean, really, the big thing is there's lots of time jumping, which can get a little hard to keep track of at some points.
I think after the first episode, it's not time jumping so much as that we are following 2 stories in 2 different timelines.
Well, so far there's been 4 time jumps though, like storylines that are 4 different time jumps.
We do within those 2 time frames do some flashback stuff.
The date thing, it does help. I also really like the theme song of this. It's actually really nice.
I like the duality of the title sequence.
Yeah, it's really cool. But so you have Kurt Russell, of course. He's kind of like our anchor point between the time periods. And
him and his son Wyatt, who I'm going to give credit to Wyatt, even though here it does, I mean, you can tell it's Kurt's kid.
Yeah, of course.
But I've seen him in other stuff. He is doing a voice and acting here. Like he sounds channeling Kurt, because like, sounds not just like what he typically sounds like.
Which is really neat. I really like it. And
because there's been a couple lines where it's like, did they just have Kurt say that? Because like this is the most I've ever believed. Like this is the younger version of this character.
Yeah, like for real. Like it's actually kind of crazy. Because it's like post Vietnam. Is that what it was? Because
we haven't gone to Skull Island yet, and Skull Island is post Vietnam. So this is
it post World War II?
Yes.
Okay, because I could not remember.
In fact, we even go to an island that is in -1.
Oda Island, yes.
Gets called out both times. It's like, hey,
yeah.
I don't know that place.
Yes, okay, that's right. So,
and then in the future, we are post the attack on San Francisco, which is
right
called G-Day, which I'm also positive they did not call it G-Day in King of the Monsters when they referred to it.
Actually, they did.
Did they? Mm-hmm. Okay. Touche then.
Yep.
But I did like it in the first episode where our main female character gets to Japan, and like I saw before they focused on, I was like, are the little Godzilla stickers on the floor?
Yeah.
And it's like they now have Godzilla like evacuation or like fallout routes and shit. I'm like, dope.
I like that.
I like this world building.
It seems like that to me kind of felt like the behind the scenes stuff in Pacific Rim, where they had the stations for people to run to when a kaiju attacks.
Yeah, and actually,
It's a clever idea. And kind of more realistic than, Kong might be coming today.
well, and I liked it in this universe as well. Godzilla didn't do it. Like, he hasn't been to Japan. He attacked San Francisco. But Japan's like, no, we get that he's out there in the water. Like, we need to prepare. Like, it's fun that the world's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And in anime style, Japan's like, fucking put rocket launchers on freeways and shit. Like, if he comes, like,
yeah, we're
going to blow it up.
And I like the introduction of Godzilla, like seeing him from that movie. It literally a second angle of the same attack on the bridge.
It's harrowing.
It is literally one of the most serious things in the entire Monsterverse, which makes me sad of what we're getting now. Like, because like this alone is like,
and again, it's tonal whiplash.
This is what I want. But Minus One gave us that. But anyway,
and also in that
it's good
first episode with our main character Kate, she was on the Golden Gate Bridge when Godzilla.
Yeah, she's like a school assistant or even a teacher.
I didn't even grasp what her fucking job was.
But she was
on a school bus. She gets a couple kids off, and then a bunch of them don't get off that school bus. And I was like, did not expect you to kill a bunch of kids.
Yeah, in your first.
I mean, like you didn't
episode.
do it violently, but it was like, oh, of course you're gonna get the kids off. Oh, nope.
You got like 2 or 3.
And the camera lingers like, look at that bus go. And it's like, all right.
And like the sound design and stuff and the roar of Godzilla, it's like, holy shit, this is actually insane. And, spoilers, of course, for this, because it's just 4 episodes.
Hopefully someone goes in and pulls that footage and just adds it into 2014.
I would like to see that. Because it really does feel like they pulled it straight from that movie, which is really, really impressive to me. There's lots of stuff that cannot mimic the style of something from the past.
There is some good tying in. I didn't expect it. We opened with John Goodman. I knew he was in the show, but I guess I didn't expect. Granted, he hasn't shown back up, but
yeah, he was the very beginning.
I didn't expect it to even be what it was. Like, was like, oh shit, you clearly were like on a set. I thought you would just be like in some fucking film footage or whatever.
There's a little bit of some.
The green screen is obvious.
Yeah,
but he was somewhere.
Yep.
Though, and I'm sure if I went back and watched Skull Island, I'm sure it fits in someplace with that spider attack, and maybe he ran off screen. But that was the first bit of retconning of like,
it's
so where's everybody else, and where did you run, and the stuff that you have that's clearly important to the show, like, did you have it?
This would have taken place roughly around the time when the helicopters crashed, and they were all trying to find each other again.
I thought John Goodman, William Randa, I thought he was with the group of soldiers when old dude got impaled by bamboo spider legs dude.
I don't think he was yet.
I'll give the show this too. It actually,
because they killed that one.
It actually made me be like, I guess I kind of want to go back and watch these movies and like see how this shit all lines up. But you're all right too. This is irritating of like that this show it does have fun, but it's taking itself as serious as 2014 Godzilla took it.
Yep.
And it's clearly part of this universe that they're still continuing. It's like, but you are entirely abandoning any aspect of this level. I don't even have storytelling of just like seriousness.
Yeah.
Again, Versus was fun, but it was like, is this the same fucking universe?
Yeah, because like
we've jumped a whole lot of shit.
Even Millie Bobby Brown's character is not acting how she was in the last movie. Like, it's just like she turned stupid. But in this movie, like, or show. Sorry, it's hard to to even say that it's not a movie sometimes because it looks so good. But the character development in this is like nothing in the Monsterverse movies compares. Like,
so I agree.
I care about all the characters.
I'm not going to read any of them, but I was looking at some reviews on IMDb. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of negative reviews of this on there.
I'm sure there's a lot of people like, where's the monsters?
There's a chunk of that, but there's also others that are just like, one, that this is too woke and all the females are girl bosses, and it's like, I'm not going to get into it.
I mean,
I can't.
Not really.
And that every human character is unlikable and just like whiny, and it's like, Kentaro does piss me off sometimes, but everyone's general like motivations and how they're behaving is like, I get it.
Hey, if you find out that monsters are real and also your dad has 2 families, I'm gonna be fucking weirded out too.
The drama crux of this is dad dies, main girl goes to Japan to like sort out some shit and finds out like dad had a whole other family. And that family's finding out like, your dad had a whole other family in America. So also like, kudos to this dude of like, wow, you maintained. Because apparently it didn't appear to be a shitty dad.
Damn, Scorpion, you're getting around.
It's not Scorpion.
It isn't.
Not. No.
Isn't it him?
No, it's not him.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. It's not.
Okay, I'm messing with you anyway.
The guy in Shogun is the guy who plays Scorpion.
Yeah. What is his name?
Why'd you put me on the spot?
I'm sorry.
I do know it, but I can't.
I'll look it up.
And also do this job and not be a Roland Emmerich bad dad to either of your two families.
Hiroyuki Sanada.
And I'm also genuinely interested in finding out more of that legacy of just like, one, why did you do two families? And then it turns out that he's the son of Bill Randa, John Goodman's character, and a character we're introduced to in this show, Kay, who this isn't really, I guess a spoiler for the first episode. I think we maybe watch her die.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that she does die. Well, one, because it'd be old. I also like that the show addresses that Kurt Russell should be 90 years old. Like, they straight up just like, wouldn't that make you 90? It's like, they really just shrug it off. It's like, good genes. And to be honest, I'm like, you know what? I'm fine.
I don't care.
And maybe it's going to come as like, I injected some Titan blood in me.
Yeah, we got some Titan juice.
Who knows? But yeah, it's those two people and families kind of uncovering who their dad was, but also like finding out like how linked they are to Monarch, and whatever Bill Randa's files were trigger something at Monarch where now Monarch is looking for them to get the files back.
Yeah.
Which leads us to Kurt Russell because he was there with them. The only thing I have a concern about legit is, and I was asking as I watched the episodes, was like, what could possibly be in those files
and then,
that's like important at this point? And I feel like it's going to be one of those things, one of those shows where it's like, there's not going to be any there's no conclusion you can give me to those files where I'm like, that's satisfying.
I think I know what the conclusion is.
It's because it's from a comic book.
No, I think it's going to be...
Let them fight.
Well, I mean...
I hope it's just let them fight.
That would be great. But Monarch, just the name alone, make it, them discovering Mothra and the location of Mothra and her two eggs, because there's two of them. And we already see like a link between them because their grandma were the twins, and you see that in Godzilla versus King of the Monsters.
I guess it's true that we haven't,
and we know that there's a location.
We're never told in King of the Monsters when they discovered the other Titans, because like they have Mothra, they have Ghidorah,
but they had like
I assume that if I remember correctly, they knew Rodan was in that volcano.
Yeah, because they had a facility on top of it, and that's kind of what we're seeing in like the most recent episode is like, hey, there's something waking up in the desert, and there's like someone out there at that facility. We don't know what that is.
For whatever reason, the thing in the desert is like, is it Godzilla? I feel like it's Godzilla.
I don't know.
In the show, I can see where some people complain about the monster part because there aren't a lot of monsters
so far.
But
we have seen two really cool ones.
Like Minus One, it opens with, here's some monster shit.
Mm-hmm.
So like, calm down.
Yep.
And now we're going to tell you some human stuff. And again, I am relatively engaged with these people, and like the actual mystery of like, oh shit, your dad had two families. Like,
yeah. And
it's not hokey. I think the actors, specifically our lead actress, Anna Sawai.
Yeah.
I hope I got that right. I think she's really good.
I just like her introduction of the entire show. She causes a fucking crazy car crash and just walks away.
Kentaro, like I said, he's doing good. He is a bothersome character, but
I think the fourth episode healed a lot of the problems I had with him and his girlfriend character.
And his girlfriend character was probably the most annoying. She wasn't annoying, but just like, I get it. You kind of got dragged into this, but like, dude, his dad died, and like, this is crazy. How could he have known that it would lead to anything like this?
And now, like with that episode, it's like, okay, things are kind of starting to make a little bit more sense.
And I was having issues with that fourth episode of like, I don't really care about how these two met with this flashback, but it wasn't bad, and they gave us more background into Kentaro and like his family.
Yeah.
And then it did blend into and I'll be honest, the beginning of that episode I was like, I think you all are fucked. I don't know how you get out of this.
I thought for sure she would die.
I honestly, I did too. I was like,
I thought that's what they were kind of building up to,
because I didn't think we get a fun pilot character who's friends with Kurt Russell.
Yeah,
duo,
fuck, dude.
And that old dude puts it together quicker. They're in the Antarctic, and like old dad's plane crashed, but Duo's looking at it as like, it didn't,
they're in Alaska.
It didn't. Oh yeah, sorry, they're in the cold. It didn't crash. He figures out by looking, it's like, no, it landed, and then he sees like a claw mark, and he's like, we gotta go. Yep. Like he just knows immediately, like, nah, we're not fucking around. And as soon as he like does that, like Ice Titan comes up,
which is kind of like based on like a mole, I guess. Because of its nose.
And it has pretty cool power where it can just like deep freeze shit.
Yeah, and it eats fire, eats warmth.
Which I thought the fire was gonna hurt him. Was like, nope, he eats it.
And then the first creature we see too just splooges on everything, but it like carries nuclear stuff away.
The dragon?
Yeah. You know what? That's a cool name for that.
And I like that Shaw, that's our Russell character, once he rescues them from the boat that shouldn't be where it is.
Yeah.
And he sees, we're just call it dragon because that's what they call it. I mean, it's not a dragon, but they don't have another word for it.
Yeah, there's no code name.
That he's just like, well, I'm on board now. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, there's no
sign me
like,
up.
no need to further convince. He's like, nope. Like if there's not any conflict. I mean, there is military conflict of like, the military just wants to destroy these things, and they're like, maybe we should study them because like we don't fucking know, we don't understand.
And
any
also
of
they
this.
just fought each other, so it's like there's a nice little like back and forth of them talking, like trying to understand each other, even though technically they're enemies.
And also, if we did learn them, you would have learned blowing that shit up in Godzilla's face actually just made him stronger.
Yep. Which like that whole scene, I was like actually upset because it's like, damn, I really don't want them to blow him up. I'm like, oh yeah,
He's fine.
Yeah, he's gonna be fine.
This is a prequel.
He's gonna be completely fine.
And yeah, I will admit, like I watched them yesterday, and I started a little bit late, so I needed to be going to bed, wrapping up our Alaska episode. To be honest, I kind of thought Kentara might die too. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't fucking know, man. Like you're just alone.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have left. The episode ended, but I'd seen on my Apple TVs, like I was like, oh, there are 5 episodes, and it already says like, well, I guess I'm staying up because like
Yeah.
I knew we were doing tonight. It's like I gotta have all of this. That episode's not there. It's just like Friday,
Yeah.
and I was actually pissed when it started to load up Ted Lasso, and I'm like, what? No.
I don't want to watch fucking Ted Lasso.
And it was like literally, I was involved. It was like, oh no, oh man.
Yeah.
Because also it was good cliffhanger too of like, I don't want to see what's going on, and I feel confident like Godzilla's close, or maybe he's not even in the fucking show.
I'm really hoping that Bryan Cranston shows up. I'd like to just see him in like another angle maybe of the attack of the Mutos on the power plant.
I'm hoping for Serizawa
And I feel like we're gonna have Serizawa. We have to, like literally,
because he was
we have
he's part of Monarch.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
like we literally will have to.
He's got to be like the voice. I guess it's implied that people think he's crazy because we have a character named Tim.
Yeah.
Who does look like Tim from Tim and Eric.
He really does.
Which I almost feel like, did you name him Tim because of this?
Yeah.
Who is out there chasing Kurt Russell, and it's implied that people do think he's also crazy. But again, Serizawa's name gets mentioned.
Yes. We also have like the other only missing thing so far are the eco-terrorist with the guy from Game of Thrones. I never remember his name.
I remember there being a theory, or they felt like it was a missed opportunity to have that be Tom Hiddleston's character from Skull Island.
Yeah, there's a lot of talks that they thought it would be him.
And after I heard that, I was like, that should have been what you did.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, but apparently I don't think Charles Dance's coming back because I saw this recently. Because at the premiere of King of the Monsters, he's being interviewed and he's just like, they asked him something about the movie. He's like, I don't know, I fell asleep.
That's funny.
So it was like, I guess it's a paycheck movie for you. Like, I get it. Whatever. Those eco-terrorists I don't think even get mentioned in verses other just like, yeah, we have this skull.
The last thing before we go on, kind of like one more missing connection that should show up is, like I told you before, there's another character from Skull Island that's still around, and it's the black guy with glasses. I don't remember his name.
Randa's assistant.
Yeah, and he's
What about the Asian girl that was with him?
her too, but
Who is only in that movie so that it would play to Asian audiences.
well, no, she's the Mothra twin.
Oh,
Yeah, because Mothra has twin humans that they commune with.
is that what she's supposed to be?
Yeah, it shows her twin sister in photos.
Well, in Skull Island, they didn't do anything with her. I think she has like
Yeah, she did
5 lines.
Not much.
In fact, there's a point where I forgot she was there, and then she's on the rescue boat. I'm like, oh,
but
you're alive.
both of those characters are in the after credits scene with Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson's characters, showing them like, hey, these
You mean
aren't
the
only
Marvel
ones.
scene?
Yes, literally. But
It's
just,
literally what it's all that scene is. It's just like, fuck
Yeah,
it. Marvel
basically.
does this.
but it's them kind of getting introduced to what Monarch is because they didn't really know what it was at the time. Like those two characters,
Starting an initiative.
basically
The,
Loki.
the Monarch Initiative.
Loki, please. But no, that's the only kind of missing thing. So I kind of hope they at least bring those two characters in somehow. They should.
Well, this is an opportunity to show like new and different Titans and clearly make them up.
Because I feel like if they do
but
have those
this-
characters,
you
they'll be the
should-
ones with Mothra.
You should. Yeah, I hadn't thought about this, but you're right. They should show the either finding the other resting Titans and setting up their outposts, or at the very least, if they've already found them, like, well, then give us a little bit more background into that. And fuck it, if you could get Vera Farmiga to show up and like, if you watch the movies, you're like, she's gonna let him go.
Yeah. I don't know. So far, enjoying it. I'm looking forward to the next episode. We'll see if it jumps the shark or not.
Is there a shark type?
I hope so. That'd be cool. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to it. Just our quick spoiler-free version of -0, -1, -3.
Well, I want to talk about so much of it. So I guess as a spoiler-free review, I mean, look, early in this episode,
Very
we've already
quick.
laid out like what the plot is. Did we say why it was called -1?
So let's talk about that for a second, because I was completely wrong, which I'm
you
happy
were-
about.
You're very confident that like it's because this is a prequel. It's just a prequel to the original.
And
I mean, I was also like, yeah, I guess.
I'm so happy to be wrong about
The
that.
only part of it that didn't line up for me with that was like, I'm pretty sure in the original they don't know about Godzilla. They're all like, oh my God, Godzilla.
That's what was making me mad.
Well, it turns out that it is literally the fact that Japan had already been devastated by World War II, taking it to 0. But with the devastation that Godzilla brings, it puts Japan into the negative or -1.
Mm-hmm. So literally, like they were already shaken down that now they're even less.
And again, I'm just gonna say like this is go see it.
Yeah.
And when it gets released on Blu-ray, if you got to import it, that's not probably be at the top of my list for next episode of my favorite movie of this year, but maybe this is really good.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's some cliche or predictable elements with some arcs, but in a lesser movie, I would nitpick them. But in this was like, I'm okay with like,
It's completely fine.
This is good. And also because I'm not familiar with, I've never watched any of the Japanese Godzilla movies. I've seen bits, and I mean, the ones I've seen are akin to Power Rangers level of like.
That's kind of a shame.
So also, I don't know how Japanese cinema works necessarily. So I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know, maybe this character could die, or I don't know the exact flow. And so there was still tension, and Nemo can totally attest to this. There was a moment where someone dies, and I audibly went, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
because that's whenever I was like, "Oh, I am actually totally invested in who these people are and what's going." Even though I also, when they're fighting Godzilla, I was like, "I don't want you to kill Godzilla either." I mean, he is an asshole, but like, it's Godzilla.
So yeah, with this movie, or really film, the impressive part of
give it the prestige it deserves. This isn't a movie; it's film, cinema.
It was really impressive.
I was talking about Japanese cinema and how I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so like you said, like characters and stuff dying. You don't know if that's a big thing. Not really. There's always like at least one or two characters in the movies where it's like, well, they're the main character. They could die. The most notable is the original Gojira with the only oxygen destroyer, the only real one in all the movies, because he took the plans with it in his head and kind of killed himself with it to kill
Pulled a
Godzilla.
Serizawa.
Basically, like, yeah, that's kind of a reference, but it literally melts the bones or the flesh off of Godzilla's bones and kills him. And that's kind of like the Godzilla. There's lots of people that get mad at you if you like any other Godzilla except for the original 1954 version, which is really crazy. Or if you say that any other Godzilla movie is better than that one. I'm sure a lot of people fighting right now that are saying like, oh, this is the best Godzilla movie. I'm like, fuck you, the original is always the best. I feel like this is comparable.
I think this is what the original would have looked like if they could have done this. If they could have filmed something like this.
And I think it matches that tone perfectly. But what's most impressive about this movie or film in general is you could take Godzilla out and it would still be a good movie. I think that's kind of how they might have wrote a movie without Godzilla.
So it definitely, it does, I think, pay respect, or it doesn't have the theme of, but it hits on the fact of Godzilla being the metaphor for nuclear destruction, because they don't call it his atomic breath in this one. It's his atomic, or
they said like beam,
and
beam.
This may be the fucking coolest one. And like the sound design of it is fucking awesome.
It's really amazing.
Apparently his dorsal plates, like, one, they charge up, and they do take something from Legendary where it starts charging from the tail and moves up. But the plates like jet up out of him as it's charging up, which apparently is also from something else. Kind of.
This is more unique to this Godzilla, I'd say.
But like, this is like a fucking rail cannon. And not only does it just destroy shit as it hits it, then when it's over, it fucking creates a nuke.
Like it's an actual like complete nuclear blast.
So like the big scene in this movie is the attack on Ginza, and it's the most Godzilla scene of the movie. Like, pretty much anything iconic of Godzilla you think of, like, yep, there it is, doing it.
Literally the music, as soon as the attack starts, just you get that and you get the classic.
And this
theme.
is also where you get the idea of like, this Godzilla's an asshole, because like there's buildings he's destroying. He's not even walking through them. He's just fucking just hitting them, just doing it because
literally stepping on people.
And this is the slow ass Godzilla. So you've probably seen from the trailer, there's a scene where like a tugboat essentially is like being chased by him, and it's like, maybe they could keep distance. And that's also though, and I guess the movie, because I did ask this question to you in the movie, eventually when they're formulating a plan of how to take it down, because like doesn't really appear to be a way to take him down.
Right.
that they're going to try to take him out from the inside. And I was like, why do they think that would work? Like, because we do get a scene where like they blow a mine up in his mouth.
It's a Jaws reference for sure.
Yes, for sure. And it blows a fucking hole in his face. But then we immediately see like he regenerates.
It just regenerates.
I think I feel like is a bit of a Shin Godzilla thing that they're pulling. And I guess that was to indicate like, oh, he is armored on the outside, but like he is vulnerable inside. I was like, oh, okay, well,
at least to a point. Your main plot with Godzilla is just he is this force that just keeps our main character terrified. It's definitely like
he's the metaphor for the war, for nightmares of the war
and PTSD, all that stuff. So you have your main character constantly tortured by this creature
who is a kamikaze pilot.
Yes,
who did not kamikaze.
Yeah, and so that's kind of like he has self guilt. He has public guilt because they blame him.
Even though there are some of the opening movie, there's some mechanics that he lands on an island because he claims that his plane had malfunctioned, and they're like,
and it's Oda Island.
They're like, plane looks fine. He's like, what are you implying? But there's one mechanic who walks over and he's like, nah, I get it, dude. Like, this war is over. Like, why would you fucking do this?
Yes.
And then Godzilla attacks.
And I think. So I
do feel like he's smaller in that scene.
He is. So that's the one thing I wanted to kind of like talk about just for a second is Godzilla and Odo Island are always a thing. They've been around. That's usually confirmed as his origin area is Odo Island. And in one of the movies, I think it's 1991's Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. There's a flashback scene. And it's the only one in the entire series, like you said, like that's actually set in this time period. It's actually set during the war where they're fighting on the island. American troops are attacking them. And this creature, Godzillasaurus is what they call it, attacks. And he specifically attacks the Americans. The Japanese win on that day. And so they are foolishly thinking he's on our side. So you have like an old man that he gets older and stuff in the future. And when Godzilla emerges and he's huge and he attacks, he's like, you're my friend. You remember me.
You were supposed to bring balance to the force, not destroy it.
Yeah, and it literally explodes him. It's really funny. But that's kind of the only other like similarity. So it's like this Godzillasaurus is what I would call the opening of this movie, where he is just literally a local creature, a lost dinosaur that's just throwing a fit.
And this being a 2-hour movie, which I don't know if that's the longest of the Toho.
It's pretty long.
I don't feel it. But there is, I mean, Godzilla's probably in it he's in it more than 2014. I'll tell you that. It's probably only like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But there's never, it's well paced. There's never a time where it's like, where's Godzilla?
Yeah. Opening the movie with Godzilla is a really
and I do think
choice.
There was like, well, let's go, just like Monarch's, like, let's go ahead and give him some Godzilla right up front. So then
we have the freedom to do what we need to.
I think the longest actual stretch is between that opening attack and the next time the
full
appears.
Emergence.
After that, you maybe have like 15 minutes in between. Like, there's some
a
more
little
Godzilla
flash here and there. So
yeah, we do get a cool little flat, like some English.
Yeah, that was real. That's real English, and that's from the actual time.
It's also supposed to show like Godzilla absorbing more radiation and clearly like
it's the
getting bigger.
It was the test of Bikini Atoll with the H-bomb testing,
which is where the Monarch scene takes place with the oxygen destroyer. Which is why that was like Bikini Atoll. I saw that like 2 days ago.
So you see like Godzilla just swimming in the area and just gets blasted, which it was really neat to see the footage of that because we always usually see the real footage that we have, maybe updated digitally just a little bit, but this is a full digital recreation of the bomb. It's just really neat because
fuck you, Oppenheimer.
Yeah, we've seen that actual explosion so much because the bomb was set off underwater, so we didn't see the blinding light like you're used to. That's why it's so famous, because you see the mushroom cloud and all this stuff because we didn't get the flash of light, so it didn't destroy the camera, basically. So even in the Roland Emmerich movie, it opens with that bombing, and you see the full, like, actual footage, but it's, like, blown up behind a set, so you see, like, the little iguanas rolling around and stuff. So it's neat that even the Roland Emmerich movie still has, like, a direct tie to the history of Godzilla, and with that, having it not linger too much but use it as like a date, like a transition between two periods of time, was a really
because we start right at the end of World War II, and I think the furthest we go is 1947.
I think so.
So so you get some montage stuff, and you don't necessarily see Japan being rebuilt, but through our characters you see them kind of reforming their lives and building kind of makeshift families, and again to where I'm invested with all the characters, and there's comedy in this too.
Yeah,
some of it may be unintentional, or is like There's there's a part where they're getting ready to go and like a fucking battleship just flies across the screen. And I know it's serious and like this is a big deal, but like I think everybody in our theater was like, haha.
Yeah, that's it's comical.
It's also like you all think that you're going to take out Godzilla.
The actual history thing that I was going to mention, though, that's kind of surprising that they didn't do it, just because knowing an American audience will watch this is
Apparently, those two boats they use at the end are actual real.
yeah,
Like they were decommissioned.
yeah, they're actual names, but so they're in Tokyo, and you know every time you hear about the bombings of Japan and stuff, you're always hear Hiroshima and
Nagasaki.
Yeah, Nagasaki. So those are the main two, but you never really hear about what happened to Tokyo, which was fire bombs. So you hear the characters say like they went up in flame because
Yeah, our main character's parents are dead. Like
yep, and his neighbor, her kids, and her husband also perished in the fire.
which then she shames him for.
Yes,
As
and
if like if you had only done your kamikaze duties.
yeah, you know, just blaming other people for stuff they can't control. And the thing that is the only like, because it's real history, the only thing that differs is that at the time Tokyo was actually like kind of controlled by Americans. There's lots of American presence there.
They reference and make mention of it a lot, but the only visual that you really see of it is right when he does get home. There are like 3 Japanese women that are dressed
Yes.
in American clothing, smoking cigarettes.
Yep.
But again, like one, obviously for Japanese audience, probably don't need to fucking like explain it for those like, you know.
It's just
and
kind of
then-
surprising they didn't at least have like 1 or 2 American actors there just for
Well,
that.
it's just like how Oppenheimer didn't bother to fucking show.
Well, it didn't need to.
Right. I think it's funny that both these movies came out this year and it's like, huh,
Yeah.
the inverse of
yeah,
each other.
yeah.
And you both set off nuclear explosions. And which one was cooler? I'm going to argue. I haven't seen Oppenheimer still yet. I will before we do our end of year thing. But like, pretty sure the one coming from the giant lizard, it's cooler to me.
But I just thought that was a little interesting because of that. But seeing a film set at that specific part of history outside of, you know, Japanese movies I'd never heard of, I've never seen anything like that, and it's really, really disturbing.
And it is the central theme of the movie. And it's not even about like all the nuclear destruction, although again, like that is there. But it is about just like where these people were at zero.
Yep.
And then how they come together. It's not even just like coming together to fight a common enemy. It's like, it's the people. It's no government. It's not the military. It's like, no, these people, like if we're, and the kind of, as they're rallying their plans, like, because there are people who don't go along with the plans. Like, why should we?
Yeah.
I wanted one person to be like, because if you don't, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
So like, you can do this now, or you can go sit at home, I guess. And like, it's coming. But it's what it's about is really, you know, the human spirit.
Yeah.
I know that came out sarcastically, but that is what it's about.
And just overcoming.
And overcoming also, I think, survivor's guilt, which is a big thing in the movie as well.
And
where
just dealing with PTSD.
our main female character, Rokiko, who kind of shoves her way into our main character's life and has a makeshift family. And then that's the whole thing, too, of like, he won't open up
Despite them living with each other for almost
years
like,
and raising a child
for
that's not
years.
hers either. But where she tells him, like, you know, her parent, you know, her family's dead, too. Is like, they want us to live.
You're not meant to die, you're meant to live.
And you do get some PTSD and just like the guilt and the trauma of, granted, the trauma he's reliving is watching Godzilla kill everybody, but
Well, and the war too, because like it's both.
his shame, I think it's more of his shame. Although there's like a young character who's on the boat with our main character who didn't go to war, and he's like, man, I wish it had lasted longer. And like our main guy grabs him right away. He's like, don't say that.
Don't you ever fucking say that again? Which is
And
like that's
even
nice.
Our 2 other older characters towards the end, when they're formulating their plan, they won't let that young guy go, and they're like, be thankful.
Yeah,
Like, no, we're not
live your life.
going to let you go do this. You should be grateful that you did not have to fight a war.
And I think overall that really does make for a solid movie. And, you know, added Godzilla into it, it really makes it a great monster movie that feels serious, that I think is only matched by the original Gojira. I think that's why there's people are saying this is the best one, is because there's not really anything else like it.
And with that too, it did create Godzilla as a threat to where, like I said, even though yes, there were, like, I knew what our main character's like arc was going to be. Like, I know where I know where this is going to go eventually. There was still like, holy shit, like run.
Yeah.
Like this was maybe granted, this is the first time I've ever seen a Godzilla movie where he is inherently just like, I am the villain. But it was like, oh fuck, you're fucked. And like when he's attacking Ginza and Rikiko is on the train, again, I was like, oh no, get out.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be here either.
And that's also something I think speaks volumes of this movie's quality, is audience participation with the movie is like, I heard you like say some things under your breath, like you maybe make a sound or something when something's happening. Multiple people around us. There's a gentleman sitting in front of us, and even he was like, yes, like when like the bomb went off, like the nuclear breath bomb, like he was into it, and just the two people beside of us were actual idiots, but that's a different story.
But also there were two people that came in, I don't know, like 5 minutes late. I want to say maybe they even missed the opening Godzilla attack.
They missed the entire opening of Godzilla being there, so they came into the movie with no Godzilla.
They sat for maybe 35 minutes, and I want to say they didn't get to the boat attack.
They didn't, so they left before
and they got up and left. And at first, it was like, oh, maybe they're going to the bathroom, and then they never came back. And it was like, I gathered two things of like, oh, this isn't what you thought it was going to be, and also like, or you just saw it's been 35 minutes of Japanese dude being really upset about not dying.
Yep. TikTok brain, dude.
But I also wonders, like, did you like? Are there people who who are confusing this with the legendary one necessarily? But
guarantee it.
I kind of wonders, like, oh, did you not know you were going to have to read?
Yep. It's sad, isn't it? That basically the American audience is so used to fast form content.
But that was it. And granted, we were in a small theater, which was a bummer, even though we were in a theater that had an IMAX screen.
Yeah, that pisses me off. So it's playing in IMAX lots of places. They even have posters for IMAX, so you can take one.
At the theater we went to.
But they decided to play fucking Beyonce's Renaissance tour as in all the IMAX theaters.
As if that's even going to top T Swift's film.
No, it's literally not going to. And I kind of feel like that might be a little racially profiled for our city because other AMCs were not doing that.
I'd also, I mean, I'd be interested to see just like what that film's take was, because I could see the theater being like, not that many people are going to come see this Japanese Godzilla movie.
Because for our city too, they did the same thing with Little Mermaid, where they cleared out so many theaters for that. I feel like whoever owns the AMC there is like, let's cash in on this, which is like, that sucks. I hate that.
But even
that's what they decided to do.
It was a small auditorium. I was surprised when we walked in. I was like, oh.
Yeah, literally, you were like, oh, shit.
This is like...
There's people here.
Like, it wasn't like sold out, but it was like, this is full. Like, this is a full auditorium of people.
The way those AMC theaters are, the front, like, 4 rows suck, and no one ever sits in them.
Which is where the two people who left, they had...
Yes.
They tried to go sit somewhere else, and then I guess it's because, like, I'll give them this. They weren't dicks, so they just decided, like, we'll just go sit in the front row.
Yeah. But, yeah, like... That's the thing that sucks about
Maybe
AMC.
They went and bought tickets for another show and was like, we fucked up. I don't know.
Give them the benefit of the doubt.
I don't know.
But yeah, there's lots of people there. And you can especially pick out the Godzilla fans. Every single one of them is always decked out in some kind of shirt or something.
I just felt like everybody in there was like, oh, you are clearly Godzilla. Like,
yep.
This is all Godzilla fans.
And the two people beside us were really funny because I kept overhearing them, but I don't know if they were, because they were older.
I knew there was people next to me.
It's like two old women, but they kept saying stuff like at the beginning of the movie, like he jumps on the plane and he's like, what's he doing? Is he gonna get like for the gun? Even though the movie literally just said,
get to the gun.
Go shoot your gun. And then they'd be like, oh, that's Godzilla. Even though Godzilla's been on screen for like 4 minutes, it's like, are you guys dying? Like, what is your brain just like?
It's not Godzilla, dumbass. It's Thanos.
Yeah, that's Loki. But they're starting to kind of piss me off because they kept saying stupid shit like, that's a baby. And it's like, of course it is. It's been like on screen for 3 seconds.
Also, I want to give props to the baby grown up.
Were they fucking hurting her?
Okay, well, it's because this is a spoiler bit. So again,
you know what? Yeah.
See this movie, buy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
This
all
is
of
good.
It. Good.
Because I do want to talk about some of the ending anyway.
Yeah, let's talk spoilers now.
During the Ginza attack, Rikiko, our main female protagonist, pushes male protagonist out of the way of
I got you.
The blowback of
Shikishima
of the atomic blast, and she just gets fucking taken away.
So
and that was where I went, oh no.
Yeah, I really did not. Okay, the entire attack on the city, like, literally
he just comes, wrecks the city, and then leaves. He has no reason to be there. There's no nuclear power, to my understanding. It's just like, nope.
He just shows up, and
I don't think nuclear power plays a role in this at all, actually.
He heads to, he picks up a bus and he throws it back down. Then he heads off from the village to the center of town. And literally, like, he just bites the train, dude. Like, it's like a full on, like, the original Gojira. That's a classic image. It's the one you see him holding the train in his mouth and it's like dangling. But just see like the actual like Rawl just like, fuck this train. I want it out of my way.
Do you know that there are people in there?
Yeah. So he like bites it and he's just holding on to it. And, our character, she's like hanging out of it and she falls in the water.
There's another moment where you might have heard me where it was like, let go now.
Yeah.
Do it now.
But also it's just like at the time too, I was like, dude, she's dead. But because we just saw like another like a boat get launched from that scene and like lands in the middle of the train tracks. So it's like I'm fully expecting him to just whip his head around and throw this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I did think like, oh, she's dead. And then when she got out of there and like our hero got, or he's not a hero yet, but protagonist got her and like, oh, thank God.
I think that might be the biggest like cliche thing of where he just shows up exactly where she is.
He knew where she worked and presumably he was on his way there. She was on her way to work. So like,
yeah,
it's more believable than Kyle Chandler finding Millie Bobby Brown.
Yes, absolutely. But
yes, it was like
the imagery of her though, like soaking wet, just like terrified, just walking alone in the middle of the road with all these people screaming and just the Godzilla feet behind him is like, it's a really well composed shot.
So she dies. Or does she?
And yeah, the way that the blast goes too is like, not only does it like go like, okay, she gets blown away, the impact sucks back in. So everything that left comes back. So it's like, bro, she just got launched and then fucking flew right back.
And when, whatever you said his name was.
Yeah, Shikishima.
Shikishima. When he comes out of the alley that she pushed him into, it's just like, nobody's fucking here.
So, and also really great scene. He's sitting there like looking around and then.
And again, in my head, I'm like, fuck, this dude was already so depressed and like he wasn't getting over it. Like, I think that's maybe when I leaned to you and was like, this guy's got strong, like fucking Shinji from Neon Genesis vibes.
I felt that way too, just until he turns around and Godzilla's just standing there and he roars and then the black rain starts falling. I'm like, fuck, dude.
Yeah, that was fucking. That was intense.
That's also
too.
a real thing. That's what happened.
So then after like her funeral, they don't really explain to the little girl, which she could be 3, maybe 4.
Yeah, they basically just say she's away for work.
Like the camera does not cut. The kid is like doing whatever, and then just like intense cry face just comes and is like, what did they do to this child?
Did they just like pinch the shit out of her leg or something? Or like,
because like otherwise, like I assume maybe some of the dialogue that comes out of her mouth is like, that's probably dubbed. You had someone to do this. And most of the other stuff that she does, like hand this note to this person. Or like, let him hold you. Mm-hmm. But there's some child acting here. Is like, how do you direct a fucking like 3-year-old and like she cut like
to just instantly cry?
And I know that I know they do that to kids sometimes too. Just like take the mom away for real. Mm-hmm. But there's a couple other moments in the movie with her, the child, where it's like, fuck, where I did think like, this kid's good.
It was like, and also like the way she was crying too is genuinely disturbing.
It may be like I was like, I know I'm sad too.
Yeah, like it's actually like
I'm also and because our hero never like he obviously does develop feelings for this chick and he never says anything because it's haunted past.
Yeah. He feels like he shouldn't have a family.
One of his buddies fucking calls him out and yells at him like, why didn't you tell her before? And I was like, yeah, why didn't you tell her before?
Literally.
You deserve this pain, Shinji. I mean,
Shikishima. But just the fact that we're even having this conversation, I think speaks volumes of like, this is a Godzilla movie and we're more interested in this character not telling his feelings to this girl and also this child crying. Like we're not worried about anything like that in other Godzilla movies.
I was kind of mad when he was like going off to the final battle and like, you know, you're gonna die. Like your plan is to clearly kill yourself, and you tell your daughter like, I'm not leaving. He's like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, fuck you, asshole.
You leave money with the aunt. Like you didn't ask. I mean, she's not really the aunt. She's the person who lost her kids.
She becomes the aunt.
Here you go.
Also, she is a really big actress in Japan. That's basically having Bryan Cranston in this movie is her like status.
But she lives.
Yes.
So I was kind of mad at him there, even though, and I guess if you could read German when they're showing the plane, then you could read that it says ejector seat back there.
Yeah, yeah.
And also this goes into the not predictable, but just like, oh, this is how a movie would work. A scene earlier where they're discussing their plan and really hitting the theme home about like, we're alone in this and like no one else is going to die, even though it's like, I think some of you might die.
Yeah, the Japanese government is proving they don't give a shit. The Americans refuse to help because they're worried about the Russians.
How the Japanese government literally just like cuts corners here and there, like don't put ejector seats in planes. It was like,
they even said something about like their tanks not being properly armored, which is a big thing.
I was like, which I'm sure all this is real, but it's also like the ejector seat line seems like it's important.
Yep.
And the movie doesn't really like the camera doesn't linger on it, but it's like I saw, I was like, there's something written on this seat.
Yep.
And of course the technician who he brings back from the beginning, which is so good, everyone gets redemption.
Yep.
He shows them the lever to pull for the bomb, and you want it. And I agree, like an American movie would have been like, yeah, trick him. But no, I think it's good that he didn't, because
I think so too.
Then it wouldn't be his choice.
After thinking about it longer, I agree too.
It needs to be his choice to want to live.
I do think that it wasn't needed to have the flashback saying very specifically, this is the ejector seat. Like, I feel like that was not needed.
Maybe, I mean,
but
maybe.
Audience are stupid, so.
But then the final attack on Godzilla, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is one of only a few times where like Godzilla gets killed.
Like, at least this, yes.
This, in a way, I'm going to say, and then we'll track back.
Yes.
Definitively killed, like,
yeah.
Oh, you got him.
So their plan is to lure him into the deepest part of the water that's near, I think he's heading to Tokyo. So it's right in the Tokyo Bay. And their plan is to strap basically these hydrogen rockets to him, which when it's kind of tied to him, they'll turn on and the bubbles will shoot him straight down as fast as they can go, which, you know,
should crush
the way pressure works.
Crush him in the pressure. Although even the doctor dude or naval weapons expert or whatever that comes up with is like, maybe.
Yeah. So
I like that he's like,
a lot of it
we don't know.
A theory. And then they're like a balloon company there, which make like airbags and stuff.
And that's our plan B.
That they have that attached to these things so that if, you know, just in case he doesn't die, fuck it. We'll put those balloons on. He'll rise to the surface really fast and it'll have double pressure. And then he should be dead. That's kind of their plan.
Spoiler alert. Neither one of those things work. Although it does.
It fucks him up.
It fucks him up.
It makes his eyeballs pop out of his head.
And he's, again, it almost seemed like Shin Godzilla in a way of like he kind of like froze a little bit.
Yeah, because of the pressure and how cold it is in the bottom.
But I wanted one person to be like, what if neither one of these things worked? Didn't we just piss him off greatly? And like, yes, when he reemerges, like, he looks pretty pissed off.
You know, I have problems with Shin Godzilla, but you know, he's the one that's like, this will destroy the world. I feel like this Godzilla was more capable of destroying the entire world.
The Shin Godzilla was literally is like, because this is an organism that will consume the world.
He's it's like an old god.
It's not trying to do anything. It's not malevolent. It's just, it's alive, and this is what's happening.
It's almost like an angel or some shit from Evangelion.
Minus Gojira is seemingly willingly like, no, I'm going to fuck your all shit up. And to be honest, I'm not even sure why. This one doesn't indicate that like we created him. Like for all we know, it also could just be like, yep, turns out there are kaiju down there. Like shouldn't fuck with shit.
Whatever he was, he just mutated. But he wasn't. He was done. He was not growing anymore. Like he was. All he's doing is healing. And so like just because you know we talked about the boat scene. Well, a destroyer Ex Machina kind of rolls in and attacks him, and he's like, you motherfucker, and he goes over there and he starts destroying the boat, and they like do a direct shot on him, and it's like, you know, those are pretty heavy artillery, so he sinks under the water, and then you just get this blast from underneath
which was like awesome. The sound design again was just so really good on that too, of like, oh.
And like, you know, we as the audience, we see the balloon stuff, we're like, well, we know what's coming. So it's like, for them to see that in the movie like that and not be the full powered up version yet is like really, really cool. Because, you know, he basically, when he's on the land is when he gets the most powerful blast off. We don't even know what he hit. He just shot it. We see a crater later.
I assume it just could hit whatever.
So it's like,
just this is what's going to happen when it makes contact at the end.
So like just knowing the devastation that can cause, and then, you know, Tokyo finally has just started to heal. That would destroy Japan forever. Like if he made it there, it'd be over for them. So it really was like the last chance. Movie. And yeah.
And then
you know, they pull off their plan.
Kind of.
And
Shinji comes to the rescue at the end. To be honest, to the movie's credit of the action, it's not like I forgot about him, but when he showed back up, I was like, oh, that's right, you're up there. Because I was just involved with like, ah.
So we do get one more nuclear blast before everything goes down, where he hits the two boats that he thinks has people on them, but they're empty. It's like, that's cool.
It was a good diversion. Although it seemed like some other people on the boat did not know that was the plan, because they were like, oh. Or maybe it's also that was the first time they were seeing it.
They probably didn't see it, yeah.
Oh my God, the destruction this thing can do. Is like, yeah, dude, that's why we're out here.
But they were like, now's our chance, because it's going to take them a while to do that. And then you get the reprise of the music again, and it's like, oh, this is awesome. So
by the way, it doesn't take them very long.
No. So, but they're able to do it. They get him down, and then he comes back up, and he's starting to load up. So that's
they get him down, and then he starts pulling them down.
Oh, yeah.
That's how they know, like, oh, we didn't kill him. And also, I was just like, just going to pull us down there with him.
You kind of get like a Dunkirk scene where extra boats come to help.
That had some Dunkirk vibes too as well.
And you know, you get your character who wanted to go to war. He has his like redemption arc, or his like self-fulfilling arc.
And to be honest, I didn't see that coming actually.
No, I really didn't.
I thought that was like the end of it. It's like, oh, so makes sense that you're here.
They're going to do something. And so, yeah, we get that, and then it doesn't work. And he gets back to the surface. He's fucked up. His eyes are literally popped out of his head, which is some gross body horror. Worse than I'd say Shin Godzilla at that point.
Yeah.
It looks genuinely like disturbing. And he starts loading up his power beam and it's like starting to crack his body. Like it's starting to, like the blue's coming through him. And then all the music cuts out and all the sound cuts out, which is like, that's pretty solid. And then of course the plane comes in and he launches himself into Godzilla's mouth, but ejects himself and then, it explodes and
it takes a while for the smoke to clear. And then we see like,
his head's
you
gone.
blew his fucking head open.
Which that has never happened in a Godzilla movie.
And then he crumbles apart like the T-1000.
Pretty much. It's like whatever the blast was inside of him just kind of consumes his cells. And then he just disappears like down into the water, crushing.
And just so you know, Rokiko is fine. There was a letter came. She was in a hospital. Yep. She's so fine. Not even a scratch on that beautiful, beautiful porcelain skin. Just...
Are you sure? She was missing an eyeball.
She could be missing an eyeball. That's true. But...
So this is... Yeah.
And again, I was
kind of mad.
I was first I was disappointed, like, oh, you didn't have the balls to kill her. But then I was like, yay, she's alive.
But then something happened where I'm like, ooh. So, you get the nice reunion scene. Very, very good performance, I have to say, of his crying. Like,
yeah,
holy shit, this guy.
His breakdown of realizing, like, she's alive and, like, and her only line is, like, is your war over now?
It's like, yes. But then it cuts over and you see something on her neck and it moves. So, we can assume she has radiation poisoning. I don't see why he wouldn't and she would.
Or, I mean, some, kaiju.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe she's a Mothra thing.
So this is my theory. A bunch of people are saying online, oh, this is a setup for a sequel. Because immediately afterwards, we get a scene where it's the ending of the movie, but down at the bottom of the ocean, we see
a chunk of
a piece of Godzilla, and it starts kind of like pulsating.
Essentially, I mean, it's reforming.
Yeah. Which is the GMK we talked about before. That's the one with the evil Godzilla. He also has kind of a nuclear bomb blast breath in that one as well. But when he gets destroyed, his heart is at the bottom of the ocean and it's like beating like really hard. So it's like, oh, he's still alive. But obviously no sequel came out to that ever. So I don't think this is really a setup for a sequel, which a lot of people say it is. I kind of have two theories. My first is it's just an allegory for you might have helped your PTSD, but it never goes away. So it's like,
and also this is a film franchise and we're not going to kill Godzilla.
That too. But as far as like the movie itself, like just using it as like kind of an allegory for like everything is finally done, but nothing ever goes away. You still are going to have this past that you're still healing through. It's not just done.
I don't think this actually was happening, but here's what I like to think when I saw that. Was one fun, like, you did beat him, but like, I guess it goes to the sadness of what you're saying, the hopelessness of like, you can't stop him.
It doesn't,
no matter what you do.
And it's not a bad thing. It's like acceptance.
Is a difference with the legendary one. Legendary is like, no, you can stop him. Like, it almost happened twice.
Yeah.
But I also saw this like, oh, what if, because, I don't even know that this needs a direct sequel.
Yeah, I don't
even
think
though
so.
Toho has come out and said like, this is its own new thing.
Yeah.
Again, saying like this is not a prequel, this is not whatever. So yes, they could and don't have to do these characters again. Just be like, yep, there's Godzilla again. Or if they don't, I was like, what if this is the prequel to Shin Godzilla and that little homunculus mass down there is what turns into the amoeba-like thing, and then it's 30, 40 years later, and just because like Shin Godzilla never explains why it just happens to like, from my memory, just happens to kind of show up or run into something. Yeah. It's like, well, I guess I'm here now. And now I'm going to keep evolving until I'm back to being Godzilla again.
I personally wouldn't. Really
I don't. Like I said, that's not what I think is happening, but it's like, well,
it could.
That's a fun connection you could make. Because again, the healing thing, I immediately turned to that's like Shin Godzilla.
Yep.
Because it was also kind of gross, like, oh shit, you blew part of his face open. Oh, no, you didn't. And in that scene is also horrifying for them of like, did you see that?
Yeah. Like, did you guys just fucking see that? I like all these different theories and stuff, but I think one other one that I had was she was dead. She actually was dead. Maybe the rain or something got into her body, and because this Godzilla can regenerate so much, it brought her back to life. And
so you want magic blood?
I don't even know if it's like that, but like just showing that, and then the scene with like the flesh like massing. I don't think it would like transform her or anything like that. It just is like almost like a resurrection.
I think this could, and not to keep bringing up, but like I think this could be like Shin Godzilla of just like, we're not gonna do a follow up. Is like, that's it. That was the end.
I think that's just kind of
like yeah. What do you think happens afterwards?
I feel more strongly about like it's kind of just like more of an allegory with a classic cinematic end. But I do like the idea of like all those people that died being brought back to life and them not really knowing that they even died. So like there could be some really weird
Maybe
implications.
Toho will make their own Godzilla or their own Monarch Legacy of Monsters show, and it's about
All these weirdos.
coming to terms with like,
Yeah.
are you a person?
Yep.
I mean, it's not, and like they're definitely going to do something. One, Godzilla's never going to go away, but obviously the success of this worldwide already in under 10 days,
Yeah.
they're gonna do something more. I just don't want to, and it doesn't seem like they will. Like, don't rush, don't push. Wait until again someone comes with the right story of like, now I want to tell this story of Godzilla.
There's
And it doesn't have to be connected to -1. Like, this can just be Shin Godzilla is its own fucking thing. This can just also be like, yep.
absolutely like
I guess, do they consider the same era of Godzilla, Shin, in this?
no, because it's a new decade.
So this starts a new era.
This is a new era. Yeah. Because Shin was 2016, so this is now the 2021. It's a new decade, which is kind of weird, isn't it, to think about. I guess, the 2010s Shin Godzilla was the only Godzilla. I don't think there was another Toho Godzilla in the 2010s.
Like I said, it's not like he was a damaged brand, but like he was definitely,
Kind of a retired one because anime took off so much bigger in the 2010s.
Shin Godzilla really did reawaken and revitalize this franchise. And I think that's probably why Toho was like, we don't want to rush. We're not going to just make a sequel to this. We got to find the right story.
It's actually interesting. I didn't even really think about that of there not being another Godzilla in the 2010s. I guess there really is only Shin Godzilla.
Maybe this is the only one for the 2020s.
I don't think so. Well, now no, because those short films are doing too. But technically, those are all old Godzillas, just with new stuff. So back earlier when we were the attack on the city, there was a scene that I felt was like you said, it looked like toys.
3 tanks roll up and fire from a hill on Godzilla.
Yeah, and there's kind of like a comical part that's going on where there's these reporters on the roof, and I feel like that was very specifically a reference to what happened when they tried to Americanize Godzilla, which is really ironic. Back in the 50s, they threw on basically a white guy to narrate the movie for you, and which is like, I get the idea, but then they also changed Godzilla's name, and they changed it to, and it took me a minute to find it, but Gigantus the fire monster.
I don't like that.
Could you imagine a world where it was Gigantus?
No.
That sucks, doesn't it?
Just like I learned originally, as they were trying to plan the original Godzilla, they didn't know like what he was going to be, and there was a period of time where there's idea of like giant octopus. Now I was trying to think of, would he be what he is now? Like, would we still care if it was like giant octopus?
Because I would not.
That's a cool monster from the 50s, but like, anyway.
But what they did is it came out 2 years after the original movie released, because they went and actually reshot some scenes where they basically had an American reporter go to Japan. They
injected the Americans.
And it was a character named Steve Martin, played by Raymond Burr, who's kind of like a famous figure at the time. So he's got a radio voice. That's what you had back then. So the whole movie, he is
Babe Ruth hits it out of the park.
Literally, like, he's like, oh my God, he's heading downtown. He's going here, and he's just picked up a train, like that kind of stuff. And everyone hated it. It was terrible because like it just injected itself in this movie, and then tried to change something so badly that when they had the reporters on the roof, like kind of like talking the whole time, just like, he's walking towards us, it kind of felt like it was making fun of that and how stupid it really was.
I think that probably was.
And
I mean, again, I think continuing to call back to,
and then they all
history.
Die. they all are killed, and it's like, realistically,
those are people who are like, I didn't care. It's like, yeah, you deserve to die, and that's a like laugh moment of death. Like,
yep,
look at you die.
And that's kind of like in the remake version of Godzilla, they're so close to the action that they should have been killed, kind of a thing.
There are moments in this one with those reporters where I felt like, does Godzilla see them?
Like, hear them?
Like almost like, I mean, he didn't, but if it was the legendary one, he would have turned him like,
Yeah, like looked at him and then maybe smacked him or something.
Yeah.
And so that scene really stuck out to me because it's like, that's kind of really clever, but also like it adds just a bit of like lightheartedness to this horrible scene that's not over the top Marvel Reddit style of where, like Thor is not like, well, that just happened or something.
No, and again, the humor in this, I mean,
it felt real.
All of it worked, felt real, and it all, there are elements of it to me that kind of reminded me now of the Daniel Craig James Bond as they went on, whereas like you're able to be serious, but you're also like you're literally paying respect to everything that's come before.
Because James Bond was stupid.
And as you inject some of the hokiness, it's kind of like a wink and a nod, like, yep, we remember.
But then it managed to pull off making Godzilla really feel terrifying. Like, I felt anxious watching this movie. I was like, are they going to be able to stop him? Because I wanted this movie to have a good ending.
I'll admit, the ending battle, I mean, while I was also on the side of like, I don't want Godzilla to die. And when they first like shoot him down, I was like, I hope that's not it. Like, it's just like it worked. But like I didn't want any of my characters to die either.
Yep.
But I was genuinely like tense and afraid for them. I was like, I really don't know how you're going to survive this.
And it's really interesting they managed to pull off an ending that was still emotional. No one dies. Like,
no, what the old dude said the night before is like, no one else dies.
Yeah.
I recognize as a win. It's like nobody else has died.
So it's good. And
good job.
I guess the last thing too is
so it is. I mean, it's not a downer movie. It's supposed to be uplifting about this downer thing.
Yeah, I forgot his name, but there is a scene where it's a transition scene like we talked about earlier with the Godzilla getting bombed. But it was one of the American presidents being like, "There's something attacking." Yeah, there's something attacking Japan, but we ain't dealing with it. And they used like archive footage, and I thought that was kind of interesting because they kind of remade every other thing that could have been archive footage, like the bomb.
And I did like that. I mean, because it was steeped in real history, but that it also, again, like America's don't want to get involved because of tensions with Russia. Like if they
because they're occupying Japan,
it could look like this. It'll trigger these things. And it was like, oh, yeah, like it did give it this grounded sense. Which again, in the legendary ones, 2014, and to a point, this Monarch show is like, well, this kind of means pretty grounded for a giant monster thing. Versus we have hovercrafts and we have a bullet train through the center of the earth that goes to China.
Yeah, we literally have a bullet train.
So, you can just choose which version of Godzilla you want to do, guys.
And apparently there was a rumor that Nicolas Cage was going to be playing the president in the archive footage scene.
That would have been distracting.
It would have been. But I guess like it like went really far because, well, one, Nick Cage is a big Godzilla fan. Of course he is. But
of course he is. Have him do the roar.
Yeah. But I guess a lot of people thought he would play the president, but nope.
Other trivia, they tried doing different new roars and were just like, no. So what they did was they pulled the original's roar and then played it over speakers and recorded it that way. I was like, that's a clever way. You could have just injected in the movie, which like, nope, do this. And I realized in this one specifically, like Godzilla has a very specific roar, but it's at the end. It's like a vocal fry that happens at the end. And it's not, I mean, I think the legendary one sounds good too. Yeah. And sounds like Godzilla.
It's like a good remix. I mean, even Zilla.
Something hit me in this one was like, did you just straight up be like, I feel like that's literally the iconic one
with something fucked up happening to it,
which I would be like, makes sense you'd use it because this whole movie seems to literally be a celebration of Godzilla, not just as a character, but of like what he was supposed to mean.
Just what he was. And I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the roar in the trailer, but in the movie, it really sold me. I think the trailer kind of damaged my perception going in because they messed with it a lot. Like down to the speed of the blast going off. Like it was much faster.
It's got, and I don't even think that was for American audience because I wasn't dubbed either. So I think it's just like, look, we got to sell a fucking movie, show the exciting Godzilla stuff.
We don't watch a lot of live action Japanese things, so it's like it might be more their thing.
The gear up to the atomic blast. I didn't really notice what you pointed out, and then I thought about it. I was like, oh yeah, the trailer they did speed it up. It takes him a little bit longer in the movie.
Yeah, because he like inhales before he blasts,
which was also cool.
Very cool.
And they definitely added in like almost like a gun cocking sound in the trailer.
They absolutely did
to the plates moving up. But so yeah, I mean I guess that's it. Let's wrap it up. That's Godzilla Minus One. That's Monarch Legacy of Monsters. That's New Empire is coming. I mean, we are living in a multiverse of Monsterverses.
Now, I would not expect to see any crossovers with anything Godzilla related from American or Japanese anytime soon.
I don't think either one of them want to do that or have interest.
No, it's still surprising that the Zilla showed up at all in Destroy All Monsters.
Well, I think he showed up for a very specific reason.
It's still very surprising. And in Sydney, Australia.
And I think that needed to make sure that everyone understands, like, that's not Godzilla. I don't know all the background, but I assume Toho with Legendary is like, that's Godzilla. You got it.
Yeah.
I mean, good.
I mean,
thanks for the money.
He's literally listed like he has a logo, and that's the Toho approval. When you have your own stamp that you put on the back of your products.
So again, I'm hoping this continues to do really well. And honestly,
I think word of mouth is going to help this one out a lot.
Looking at what you have coming up through the rest of this year. I know I saw a lot of theater chains are complaining about they're in danger because there is nothing that's gonna
nothing December.
Like there's not an Avatar Way of Water like last year, which when I read that I was like, oh yeah, that was last year.
That's weird.
All you have is really Aquaman 2, and it's just like it's already not tracking well, and these theater owners are like, it's not gonna. I mean, we're gonna see it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Can't be worse than The Flash.
I just want to see if they kill a baby in the movie. Honestly,
I want to see if they kill Amber Heard.
That too.
So yeah, this technically doesn't have competition, and I think word of mouth. I think seeing a critical rating on Rotten Tomatoes and an audience rating of just like, yep, it's good.
This is like,
and also like how many movies really even have those ratings where they're in line like that?
Not many, and if they are, usually it's like one of those things. It's like, is it really that good though? And you kind of like look deeper into it, and it's just like lots of people being paid to say it's good. And I think even if you are not a Godzilla fan, I think this is like you said, you could take Godzilla out of it if you made like the plot of whatever that is coming. Could be the American warship or something coming.
The drama of the story and the characters is good enough. If you could sit through Squid Game, then then you will like this, and then hopefully after listening to us, and one, we spoiled it for you, but then you also realize like again, Godzilla, it works as a monster, but he is a metaphor in this still too of just like guilt, PTSD,
yes,
being haunted. Because I thought about it the second time Godzilla shows up for, I'm just gonna call him Shinji. For Shinji, would have to be like, what are the chances, dude? But like, you encounter this thing there, and you encounter this thing out in the fucking like, you're sweeping for mines, and it's like, there he is.
Because I think that's also the impressive thing in the movie is like, one, he didn't tell anybody, because it's like, how the fuck do you tell people a giant dinosaur dragon killed everyone on this island?
I think I had that question at first when we got home, and then it just escaped my, like I just stopped thinking about it. But then it was also like, what are you gonna say?
And then like when they see the boat,
a giant dragon thing walked on the island.
When they see the boat though, and he's like, all right, listen, guys, and they're like, you're lying, except for the scientists, because he already knew. I thought that was kind of like, in retrospect, it's like, that's interesting. The scientist was the only one who's like, I believe you wholeheartedly. He
was the Bill Randa of this story.
He's a really good actor too.
And I don't think he has an IMDb picture, because I was trying to look up people before the show, and like a big chunk of the cast is not pictured.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a really good. I don't know. I have no complaints really with this movie at all, outside of maybe a few things that are like, the CGI didn't look the best there. But also, it's weird. I went into this movie not expecting the CGI to be good, because that's just kind of my perception of Japanese movies
and current state of CGI,
which really says a lot of how well, especially the water shots, look compared to stuff we're getting from Hollywood now. It really says a lot.
Yeah,
there's a scene like where he's on his teeth.
The shot of him chasing the boat, and like in your brain like the boat's probably there, but like everything else is like definitely being fucking animated. And I usually, I mean, I was in the movie, but part of me was like looking at the water, like, is it moving realistically? And I was like, yes, I kind of believe that Godzilla's fucking there.
Yeah, that's impressive. And also something cool for this movie is Godzilla in water surprisingly doesn't happen a lot, like him fighting in the water. It's actually kind of a rare thing for Godzilla.
I've recently just been watching the Monsterverse ones. Was like, well, he fought in water in King of the Monsters. He fought in a fucking boat in Versus.
That's not as.
But I was taken aback, like, and they explain it with the final battle plan of like clearly he's floating when he's standing up like that.
Yeah. How?
But I was like, I really want a camera shot to go under the water and just see his fucking thunder thighs just like
wiggling really fast. I love that.
But yeah, this was really, really, really good. I think this will also convert some more people into Godzilla fans.
For me, then, my challenge to you is go watch Gojira. Go watch the original. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it later. It's also a very short movie because it's from the 50s.
I mean, I have seen parts of Gojira. Like I said, I've seen lots of parts of Godzilla movies. Gojira is probably the one I've seen the most of. So I guess early on, like I learned as a kid, it's like, oh, his name's not Godzilla, it's Gojira. Yeah. I didn't pick up on that. It was just like Americans not being able to say that correctly, or...
Yeah, because the translation is gorilla and whale.
But in this one, the director did say too, like that Godzilla is half monster, half god, and he talked about like the spirituality aspect, and it's like, yep, it makes sense too.
Yeah.
So I hope that this continues its path, and like one, I hope Legendary reel it in just a little bit.
Yeah,
just a little bit. But that we kind of keep getting the, hey, you want to see stupid stuff kind of happen, and like just big old punch ups. Do you want to see him slide on his tail? We'll do that.
I think someone compared it to being like, you have a normal, like, it's like you have Baby Driver and then you have Fast and the Furious.
And then do you want to see him as a metaphor? And like, and again, also like, yes, crunch was definitely involved. These people definitely were probably working to the bone and probably sacrificed a lot of their health.
That's
to get this, thing. But that's happening here too. And what we're getting doesn't look this good. And it's being spent $200 million to do so. They only spent 15. I'm not like both sides should be like, one, let these people go have a life.
Yeah.
And also pay them better. But if they can pull this off with 15 million, that's the catering budget of even a small movie. Like again, take the first Deadpool was made for $65 million, which that is small in Hollywood money, which is why Fox let it happen at all. Cause like, I don't give a fuck, go do whatever you want. And then they were like, oh shit, people, turns out if we just let you do your own thing, people like it. Let's ruin that.
Yep.
This is not just Marvel, all of Hollywood, but like specifically Marvel should be like, take fucking note. You could do superhero movie without spending that much fucking
Especially
money.
if you just give someone with a vision the time
and
to
let
do
them, and also let them do
just
what you hire them to do.
What they want to do.
And I think that goes part of this too of, I mean, this guy was also like the second unit director. Yeah. Because apparently that's the thing with Godzilla movies, that there's always two directors who kind of like handles two different parts.
Yeah,
He did all, and he also, when he wrote it, and then he was part of the visual effects team too. So this was his fucking baby.
I also kind of feel like this is a little bit of therapy for him too, just being a veteran.
But also I imagine the shit was probably storyboarded.
Oh,
they knew exactly like this. We're gonna get this. We're gonna do it this way.
Like I said, there's some shots
instead of the American way of like, just shoot it and we'll put it together.
Yeah, we'll work around it. There's no reshoots involved in this fucking movie.
No, and you know, I know the star system is probably different over there as far as like, as you mentioned, I'm just gonna call her the Ant character. She's a big name star, but like, she ain't getting paid $10 million per movie.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that like, actually I guess I'm saying like, no actors worth $10 million to fucking like pretend.
Yeah.
But like there's a Hollywood lesson to be learned from this movie.
I think so.
And I hope between this and like Barbie, which I don't know what the budget of Barbie was, but the lesson of Barbie 2 wasn't like, don't just make movies about toys. That's not why this was good. And what, like, don't learn that lesson. Just like the lesson with Deadpool wasn't like, just say fuck a lot and it's okay. It's like, no, it worked because you let the person make the movie they wanted to make, and you didn't get in the way.
Well, then,
and this is a lesson of, and Blumhouse should be teaching this too. Of like,
absolutely.
Hey, it turns out if you don't, Five Nights at Freddy's was what, $5 million?
Extremely small.
And again, I know
it's still making money.
I'm not gonna talk about that because whatever. But like, all that had to go to the fucking animatronics. But if that was made by a major studio, that would have been a $100 million movie, and the animatronics would have been the fucking same
or non-existent.
No, I mean, they still would have got ILM to do it, but
yeah, they would have. Or I meant just CGI, not even animatronics.
True, just CGI that shit. It's fine.
Maybe make a foot or something,
just for when Foxy steps.
Yeah. That being said, though, like giving directors and the writers the time to make something they want to make, I think is important. Which for our next episode, hopefully, if you consent to this right now, I would like to talk about
consent.
Midnight Mass.
Give me access to Netflix and I'll watch Midnight Mass.
You got it. We might even have some little special for that episode. But I just finished rewatching it, and it's one of those things. It's like, man, when you give good writers the time to do something, it really makes a difference.
That next week-ish, next time.
Who knows?
But also year in review coming.
Yeah, well, I definitely want to finish that up. Godzilla's pretty high up there.
I know I said earlier it's like probably not going to be number one, but I was like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, because I need to sit down and really think about it, but it might be number one for me.
There was stuff that I really liked, and I'm a big fan of John Wick, and John Wick 4 was good and it's fun, and Dungeons and Dragons was like, wow, you made something that should have sucked, and like you
made it good.
You made a good fucking movie, and it didn't do well. That's a bummer. But I enjoyed this so much, and then like talking about it again now with you and like reflecting back on it, I was like, this is a really good movie, and it's not even good if it's like I expected it to suck. It's like no, it's just
it's interesting because like for you especially, you really had no expectations because you haven't watched a lot of Godzilla movies, so you're really.
All I expected was I don't think this is going to be hokey. I don't think it's going to be what I've seen from Japanese Godzilla movies. I know it's not going to be Shin Godzilla.
And I think that's really interesting just to see the perspective of everyone watching this movie. Because I've seen plenty of people being like, wow, this is a really mature movie that even kids can go and watch because it's not like there's no real gore. There's no bad language. It's just a solid movie, but it's still disturbing.
Nope. I mean, I would say this is on par with like Jurassic Park as far as like intensity. I mean, it's actually the only time he really does anything is the very beginning of the movie where it's like, and I was taken back like, oh, he chomped that motherfucker just right away.
That's the most violent part. It's
And then I noted, like, didn't eat him, though.
Yep, just pissed off. Well, how about we get out of here and we'll go to church. How about that? To worship Godzilla.
But where can people reach out?
You can find us on Spotify at Shallow Cinema. You can find us on Apple Podcasts at Shallow Cinema. And hopefully all other platforms if everything's working correctly. But
let us know if they're not. If we're not where you want us to be.
And you can find us on YouTube, Shallow Cinema, and X at Shallow_Cinema. Yeah, I know. Also, with Spotify Wrapped this year, our Spider-Man episode was our most shared episode. So I guess people really liked that one.
Spider-Verse?
Mm-hmm. That was the most shared. Our most viewed was definitely Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
And that's just Spotify. That's it alone.
I mean, I'll take what I can get. Makes Five Nights at Freddy's made a lot of other people famous, so.
Thanks for sharing that one out of all of them. And thanks for the views, too, on the Five Nights at Freddy's. And so far, people have voted on the poll that's on that one. And a lot of people say Foxy is their favorite animatronic.
I mean, is Foxy a girl?
No.
Okay. I mean, he's cool because he's all fucked up from the get-go.
Yep.
But also, email in if you are a Godzilla fan.
Yep. At shallowcinemashow@gmail.com.
What is your favorite Godzilla movie, or what's your favorite era version of Godzilla? Actually, which do you prefer? Do you like the hero? Do you like the force of nature? Do you like the villain Godzilla? Or put that up as a poll.
Yeah, that'd be a good poll. All right, let's get out of here.
Godzilla, what do you say?
That was very mature.